Ah, perfect. Just the person I need to see. Firstly, loving the outfit, by the way. Really suits your hair. Secondly, the universe is falling apart. I don't have much time to yet. I need to shoot off. I need to do something. But by all means, this is imperative. Watch Type 40. Type 40 podcast is where you need to be. Seguida!
It's time. It's time for Type 40 Live. We materialise again here with the live stream Doctor Who magazine show parading across your view screen here in real time on Rumble, X, YouTube, and on Facebook too. There's no escape. And we're in front of a live chat full of fellow friends, fans and companions just like you, the more the merrier, to talk the past, the present and the future of Doctor Who, the far future too, on this edition of the show. All those doctors, the companions, the monsters, I know. And it's been so quiet too, hasn't it? But yeah, the clouds are parting, or are those just cheeks? I don't know, but the dry spell's about to end. Hold your noses for Type 40 Live. Yes, I'm Dan Hadley, Birmingham's King of the Geeks. We'll find out who you are in a moment or two. You could be watching on Facebook. If you're over on Facebook in the Type 40 Facebook group, hit that little blue link and you know how it works. Facebook tells StreamYard who you are and StreamYard tells us, and we all get on first name terms. Everybody on X, Rumble and on YouTube, you are who you are. And yeah, we're all the same together to share our hot takes, pet peeves, rants and raves about all things Doctor Who from throughout the Whoniverse. There's a lot to get into. Every time I think it's a quiet week, this week, things start to bubble up, don't they? There's lots going on and a hell of a lot of opinions to share, I think, between us on the panel. I think we're still waiting for one more. We're going to wait and see who materialises. But I do have a compliment to bring on. Comments coming already. Thank you, everybody. Some more of that, please. I think that this should be the console room, this time to match the swirling background, the spirit of 1996. He's back. Look, he's back. There he is. Blinking back to life there, the 8th Doctor. We've got a big birthday thing coming up later on, but I thought this was nice because this is kind of a little bit autumnal as we head into the winter now. It's bloody parky, and this kind of looks a bit like having an open fire almost. Simon, what do you think?
You know that I love that console rule. I still think that is, as much as I love white roundels, I will forever love the classic white roundel console room. This was by far, to me, the second best of all the console rooms. And I really don't understand why, when the show came back in 2005, they didn't lean into this console room, because it just works so beautifully. I don't know why they didn't capitalize on this one more. They could have run with this one. I realized that they'd have wanted to redesign it.
It was a long time later, 9 years on. I
know it was, but it worked then, in 1996. Yeah. It still works now. To me, it's so much more enticing than the one that we got in 2005, because there are just so many hidden depths to this. I've just noticed for the first time while I'm looking at this photo now, you can see the library in this, can't you, on the right-hand side?
You can in this, because this is a CGI recreation
by
the
is
fabulous
that what
Chris,
it is?
Chris Thompson. This was done for Big Finish for their Once and Future anniversary series last year. This was part of the trailers. So Chris has been able to bring out some of that detail that we could only get a few hints of there. But the fact all that stuff exists in our imagination, so it is there in the TV movie. We just can't see it. I mean,
you just can't see it. But I love the fact that you know it's there. Philip Seagal did that tour around the console room, didn't he? Or around the TARDIS.
That's right.
It's on the DVD.
The press kit.
And so you know that it's all there, and so even though it never makes it to screen, the fact that it's there just out of shot, to me, gives it so much depth, so much credibility, so much gravitas. I just love it. It's faultless. To me, this is faultless.
You see, when you go back and read the books from the time, from the mid to late noughties, where they were talking about the genesis of the new series TARDIS, and because Brian Hitch was the sort of the concept artist on that.
Yes.
So I think there was two or three other people involved, but Brian Hitch was the main dude. And so they were thinking at it, not exactly looking to the TV movie as such, but adopting some similar principles, the multi-level idea, the fact that the central console, the central column was attached to something. So certain things do survive, but
yes, the echoes of it, definitely.
The ethos is rather different, is it not? What are your thoughts about this one, John? Because, you know, it's an old favourite now to a lot of people after nearly 3 decades.
This is my favourite, without a doubt.
Wow.
I adore it. I really do. I did like the Fourth Doctor alternative console room, but this, as soon as I first saw it, I was like, no, this has got size to it. I like the gothic element of it. And I would say that this still looks like they've spent a lot more money on it now than what the current era have done with the current console room. I just think this looks head and shoulders above that. It is so good.
It's got weight, hasn't it, John? That's what I was thinking. It's got weight to it. It looks solid. We joke about it looks solid. Cardboard set. It
doesn't look like a studio. I mean, it wasn't a studio either, was it? It was pretty much a warehouse that they redressed. Elements of the warehouse structure did survive into the design. They incorporated them into the design, which is even cleverer. I mean, we geek out about this every 6 months or so, don't we, Charlotte? It never seems to get old.
Hello, I think it's because it's the TARDIS we never got. It's that sort of and that sort of thing of we saw a bit of it,
untapped potential,
and then we didn't see it again. And I think there's nothing more alluring than something that never was. Yeah. And I think as well, like that design is one of the few where actually use size, use space, use sort of the bigger dimensions actually really effectively, that instead of just having lots of space and dead air almost, like the current one has got, or when previous ones tried, like you said, wherever there was space, there was something there. Though, even if that was just a little prop or a big thing like the pillars, or like how you had the stars in the sky. I remember that's the thing that I always remember about the TV movie, that shot actually, or when you look up and you see the galaxy swirling.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I'm like, surely they could do that, recreate that effect now. You'd think with better tech, with possibly more money than they had for the TV movie, but none of them have done it.
And the other thing that surprised me, Charlotte, is there are so many layers on this McGann set. There are so many layers, and it's designed for a director, so that the director can use tracking shots with the pillars in front, with all the candelabras, the various things that are in front. So you can track round that set, and you've always got a beautiful what they call depth of field, where you've got directors love, you'll forgive the expression, dirty shots. Directors don't like clean shots. They like dirty shots, i.e. shots that have got stuff in them in the foreground that's out of focus, that just gives it a depth and a weight. And it surprises me that since 2005, they've never leaned into that at all. They've always, as you say, Charlotte, they've just gone for size. Look, wow, look how big our set is. And yet actually, the McGann set looks a heck of a lot bigger.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that, as you say, Charlotte, there's stuff you can't see in it. It's just out of vision. And I don't understand why they've never done that in the modern series.
I think the trick is depth and texture, which the Capaldi console room, which you talked about a few weeks ago again, that goes part of the way there. Ironically,
it makes steps in the right direction. You're right, Dan.
It's weird, isn't it, that now we're 10 years on from that, and yet the TARDIS console that we've got now looks more like a studio than ever, or than it has in a really, really long time.
And as I say, the thing is, for a director, all they've got is this. They can't do anything with it other than it's going to look the same in every episode, because it just is a space. That's all it is. There's nothing to interact with.
Well, yeah, and it's like the one episode where they actually had the actors moving a bit and doing things was Rogue, actually, because all the other ones, they've been stood, Shooty and Millie. They've not been doing anything, whereas at least with the Rogue episode, you actually had the Rogue character run around and actually explore
and use the space.
So
that's true.
That showed to me, like, that set needs momentum. It needs either a person moving in it to make it pop, or, like you said, they need to fill it out with stuff, because otherwise...
I
know, with the current production team, that could mean anything. But in an ideal world, you know what I mean.
But the odd thing is, Charlotte, again, going back to the McGann one, yes, you're correct. The new console room has to have people moving in it because it's so static.
Yes.
Whereas the McGann one, you can literally just stand on that set and look interesting. It doesn't matter where you stand, what you do, you will be interesting.
You can pop Sylvester McCoy. Now, I love Sylvester, I do, but he's Sylvester McCoy. You can put Sylvester McCoy in a high-back sedan chair, give him a book, and it's the most captivating of images.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's not static, but it's not far off.
It's storytelling without any dialogue. You don't write a scene full of people talking. You just need to have that shot, and you can tell your own story with props, with him, with like the way he sat.
Yes.
Like, so many little intricate things.
Yeah.
Like, not currently, because it's just white. I think probably my room's a good example of that, because I don't really have much behind me. Like, you can see it's not captivating.
Yeah.
Whereas Simon, you can see your little things behind you. Like, you can see our eyes track. It's a human nature.
Bizarre, isn't it? So why do they? You wonder why they don't. And I don't understand why they don't understand that, and why they haven't tapped into that, because it's just so simple and so basic. I don't understand why.
Answers on a postcard, please, everybody. Alternatively, if you haven't got one of those in the drawer or a stamp, just drop us a comment and let us know what you think. Where are they going wrong? Where are they going right? It does seem that it's all falling apart at the seams. When the Doctor is in distress, usually, we call Ian Levine, don't we? Or Bobby G, or both. But if they're tied up, because I think they're busy guys, aren't they? Very, very busy guys. There are some who will respond. I mean, for example, time agent Captain Jack Harkness. He's somebody who you can always rely on to be there in a flash. But the flash was part of the problem, so he's not around either. Where on earth is it going to end, everybody? What's going to happen? John Barrowman, of course, was immensely popular, wasn't he, in the role of Captain Jack Harkness between 2005 and 2011. And people were hankering for him to come back, weren't they? Even though he'd been leading Torchwood across 4 seasons. When that went out with a bit of a whimper, so did Captain Jack, and people wanted him back. Eventually, we got him back, sort of. Barrowman was there, but he wasn't there in Too Diabolical. Jodie Whittaker nightmares. They were all nightmares. But fans are still very invested in this character. Invested enough to create fan art and still get excited about potential returns. So You mentioned Rogue a moment ago, Charlotte.
Yes.
A week and a half ago, there was a bit of fan art just floating around that had got the Captain Jack Harkness character, put him together with Rogue. You know, in my view, Rogue is Captain Jack from Wish or Temu or one of these apps. You know, he's the cut price version of the same character, but they put him together in the idea that a 5th season of Torchwood could be a show that features the two of them coming together. Yeah, you make up your own jokes about that. So that bit of fan art travelled literally everywhere. It even made its way to John Barrowman himself. And I don't know if you've seen this, because he did chip in over on X, and he said, so Yvonne, who's at Disney Mad Mummy, said, John Barrowman, I'm guessing there's no truth in this being advertised on Facebook. And 8 episodes coming in November. And JB replies, this is not real, as I have been effectively blacklisted from anything BBC and Torchwood or Doctor Who. So he's not saying he's officially blacklisted, but effectively blacklisted from anything connected with the IP at all, either Doctor Who's or Torchwood's, and not allowed anywhere near the BBC. But he says, if you come and see my new show, Laid Bare, or will be explained. Now, it's a couple of years on from this sort of furore that sort of whipped up around John Barrowman, John. I think a lot of us had sort of wondered about this, you know, if it was good, because cancel culture is on its way out, isn't it? Along with wokeism, it's sort of bleeding out before our very eyes. John Barrowman, he is still on TV. He's still a public figure, but a lot less than he was. Did this surprise you? Because I think we've got our suspicions that perhaps there was a policy of don't employ this man. What did you think when you saw this?
It doesn't surprise me at all. I think this has been a long time coming, and I think this is gonna be another hit to the people that are involved in these decisions, because similar to Eccleston, what was it, last year or the year before, with what he said about all of this and about him being blacklisted, and before he was blacklisted for a decade, wasn't he? He said so. This is a similar thing, and again, it's I don't agree with kind of the way he behaved back in the day, but then I wasn't there, so I can't see if it was in jest or, you know, and the people were joining in. You don't know, but I would say
they seemed to handle it at the time, didn't they? You know, Julie Gardner got involved. He apologised to the people who felt offended, but you know, it's over. It's a decade and a half ago, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I'll be interested to hear what he has to say. And for me personally, I'd want him back in the show, but under a completely new production, because I shudder to think what we'd get under the current iteration of Jack. At least he was a well-written character when he was first in it. I don't know what he would be if they brought him back now.
Do you think he's had a lucky escape, Simon? You know, you're quite fond of John Barrowman, aren't you, as Captain Jack, even though you're not a big Torchwood guy?
I'm kind of ambivalent, to be perfectly honest. I never really warmed to him. I didn't dislike him as a character, but I didn't really warm to him either. He was definitely somebody that I just felt sort of a little bit indifferent to. And I must be honest, I didn't like seeing him back, only because for me, it just felt a bit of a backward step. It felt like Doctor Who had moved on from Captain Jack in the same way that for me, it always felt
as well.
Yeah, it did a little bit, John. And it was always the same when River's Song, every time River's Song kept sort of popping back, it felt a little bit like, have we run out of ideas, and so now we're just going to keep regurgitating old characters? So it never worked for me bringing him back, I have to be honest. What interests me particularly about this is I'm assuming that his new live show, his tour, hasn't started as yet. Do we know when it starts?
It starts very, very soon, up and down the length and breadth of Britain.
Because what I'm hoping for is presumably that once it starts, the stories will presumably begin to filter out from people who have been to see the show. Because when he says, come see the show and I'll tell you all about why, well, I'm interested in that. I am interested in it because I do want to understand exactly what's gone on here. Same as John was just saying, nobody is necessarily going to forgive John Barrowman for what he did. If he caused offence, it sounds on the surface of it like it was the wrong thing to do. He misjudged things. But I'm always interested to just hear all sides of any argument.
There are two legs to this tour. So he's actually doing some dates at the moment before Panto season really kicks in, and then he's back doing some more in February and March. It's like a 50-date tour, and he's going global with it.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see. I must be honest, I'm not a John Barrowman fan. I would certainly never go and see the show. I can't. I'm sorry, I can't really. Not my cup of tea. It is not my cup of tea. But to be fair, he is a consummate performer of that we can be in no doubt at all. And I don't doubt that for John Barrowman fans, it'll be an absolutely cracking watch. And as I say, I really look forward to the story starting to filter out of what actually went on, because we never really found out what went on with Chris Eccleston. It would be interesting to know quite what went on with John Barrowman. So I'm interested to hear all sides of the argument, and then I can make a decision.
What are your thoughts about it, Charlotte? I mean, does this just confirm kind of what you suspected?
Well, I thought there was something because of how quickly the Big Finish stuff that had been recorded. They'd done all the work. It was set to be released. And then when the cancellation happened, all of a sudden the audios disappeared off the face of the earth. So that's when I was like, oh, the BBC has clearly have made a decision around John, and it's been filtered down, and we're seeing it through Big Finish because that was the only thing that was current at the time. And my thing at the time was more, it was known about. Like, they all joked about it in, like...
So we've talked about this before, haven't we? The whole thing.
Fan panels, and, like, when they were doing their own stuff on panels, multiple actors. They even joked about it in the song they did when Russell left. When
the media reports on this, then the state of play with John at the moment, though, Charlotte, they still say, there are claims that he did this, claims that he did that. There aren't claims at all. First-hand accounts. He held his hands up and said, "Yeah, I did that." There's no doubt at all that he did this stuff.
If it was something that was kept secret, then I could understand it a bit more. But it was part of fandom. We all joked about it. The actors all joked about it. It seemed like everybody knew about it, and then all at once it was despicable and it was horrible. That was more my thing at the time. Clearly, and I'm saying this in regards to, if there was people on set that were uncomfortable, then he shouldn't have done those things, clearly.
I personally wouldn't have liked it. That's beside the point. I wasn't working there.
For me, it was more just, we're sort of hounding a person, we're attacking a person who must be very, very confused that it was okay for so long, and then suddenly it's not. So
did he apologise? Do you know?
He made the error, in my view, of apologising for this around 18 months to 2 years ago, which is just like blood in the water for these cancel culture addicts. And so they went for him like piranha. And I do wonder, Charlotte, with making this, he's not plastering it over the posters, come and hear me slag off the BBC. But, X is a big platform. He's effectively promising that this is going to be part of it, and now that the public know that he's willing to talk about this stuff, I would imagine that will mean there'll be more questions along these lines, because it's dangling a carrot, isn't it? Do you think it's wise, or do you think this could backfire on the guy?
If he's already effectively blacklisted, they can't do much more to him, the BBC, can they really?
No.
So for him, I wouldn't be surprised if he's like, well, you've already harmed my work. You've stopped me from doing something I love. He adored being in Doctor Who. You could see that.
He did, he still does.
About it.
Still lots of fans.
It probably felt like a real loss to him. So of course he wants to put his side out, and I think he has every right.
Do you know what I find?
You can see how it affected him. Well, for all that Simon said, he's not a big John Barrowman fan. You know, I feel that to level the playing field a little though, John, we do need to bring on a John Barrowman fan, and the biggest one that I know is our real life time traveller, Matt Pott.
He has got that tattoo on his back.
Oh, yes.
Good morning, mate. How are you?
Good morning. Yes, I woke up being a John Barrowman fan. There you go. Yeah. Apparently, these concerts have already started.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm surprised there's nothing to come out. Maybe he's got to have a NDA signed for all the audience members.
I think enough has come out already. You know, well, maybe. Everybody signed an NDA. Yeah, I don't know. I think that John is understandably treating this as a kind of therapy. He will be singing, obviously, and probably dancing as well, and because that's what people go to see. People who love him, that's what they go for. But it does sound like he'll be dishing the dirt and gossiping. How many cats he'll let out of how many bags? Who knows? If you've got tickets for John Barrowman laid bare, they're in the live chat across YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X. Let us know. Let's head over there and see what they've got to say about all of this so far, shall we? How about that?
The only way you can help save the universe is by watching Type 40, a Doctor Who podcast.
We have been blessed. We have been blessed with comments from our audience of fellow fans, friends, and companions there. Thank you for being patient, everybody. What have we got here? We have, hey guys from Michael Q. He's there. We've got Rob Alexander around as well. I've just seen him. Stephen Braddock says, hi everyone. I've just had a nice hot pasta to warm me up. It's very cold tonight. Thursday, my favourite night with Type 40. We'll do our bit to try and warm you up.
Oh, bless you. And I love his Sea Devil emoji on that one there as well. Very cool. He's got his own piece of artwork. Nice one, Stephen.
Keep them coming, Stephen. Greetings, fellow Who fans, says Rob. I hope everyone on the panel and in the chat is in good spirits. It depends on how much warmth you want inside you, really. If you're going to get at the spirits already, I don't know. We have Tom from T Dwarf Productions. Happy Scorpio, says Tom. Happy Scorpio to you too, Tom. Good evening, all, says the Oti Astaris. Hiya, Oti. Good to have you back with us. And we've got Matt, the silent Wii Music King, back again. You really need to cheer up, Matt. Come on, turn that frown upside down, my friend. Let's be having you. We have, what else have we got? Hello to the chat. Hello, OT. We've got Richard Brooks here too. We've got Domgo as well. Hello, friends. Hello, Domgo. Good to have you back. And Rose Kirby's made it as well. Thank heaven for that, Rose. Good to have you back as well. Richard Brooks. Who else? Wow, yeah, it's really jumping. And it's buzzing with Cybermat Strikes here. Hey, gang. Two ends with the gang there. Is that a new thing I'm not aware of, Matt? Two ends in a gang?
Is
that street slang?
I've heard of other gangs, but never ever a gang. No.
We are one anyway, Matt.
Chris Lawley can sort that out. He's here. Good to have you back as well, Chris. Matthew Butterfield's in as well. Good going. And so is Richard, just plain and simple, Richard. Ahoy all.
Oh, and a nice emoji Richard there, liking the emoji there. Well done. Hello, Domgo.
Yeah, we've got the Seal of Rassilon there, and we have Tom Baker in the mid-70s title sequence there, Simon. That's just for you, I think.
The best title sequence, Domgo. Seriously, the best.
Garbage is in as well, Charlotte.
Hello, Garbage.
And we've got Lord Thoth and Crimpling the Balloon in too. Lots of the regulars. Ezra Goldstein's just made it. Shalom, panel and chat. Shalom to you as well. Ezra, and plenty of room for more as well, including Sentai Ranger Danny.
Hello, Santa.
More, keep it coming. Let's get stuck into our various points that we're going to be raising throughout this edition of the show. Evening, everyone, says Adrian James.
Hello, Adrian.
Yeah, let's hear from you, John.
Oh, Noodle Arms. I've just seen Noodle Arms has popped in. Is that a new one? Noodle Arms that you
Noodle Arms.
Hello,
Where's
Noodle
Noodle
Arms?
Arms?
8:30 just popped in. A hello to you all from Noodle Arms. Hello to you, Noodle Arms. I just love that name. That's very, very cool.
It's a great name. I'm trying to find it here. We've got David Milling down in the live chat. Hi, David. Noodle Arms. Noodle Arms. The Noodle Arms sounds like a theme pub of some sort, doesn't it? Where they only serve hot noodles.
I want to go to that pub. That's why I want to go
take that idea. You can have that idea. Mosh is in the live chat as well. Good to have you back as well.
Hello, Mosh.
Asian couple.
So much to talk about, Mosh. You know, you've made it just in time. I know some of this stuff is going to be right up your street, so let's be having it all.
Welcome to Type 40.
Oh, it's going so well.
Oh, memories. Yeah,
This is what I get up for every morning. Just that smile.
Ah, there he is. So this was, believe it or not, this is Doctor Who. Fucking hell. This is Doctor Who, Shita Gatwa. This was on the red carpet at the Vanity Fair Awards.
Vanity Fair was that? Yeah.
That's right.
Vanity Fair. Yeah.
No vanity there whatsoever.
So Shita Gatwa has a relationship with Vanity Fair, which has continued this week. He's made it onto the front cover of the Hollywood issue for 2024 of the magazine. I told you, every time he does promo in the States like this, that's really sort of mainstream, where he'll be seen in every sort of, on every newsstand or wherever they sell magazines, the guy's like dressed normally.
Yeah, good
showed up like that lady in the middle, and then because he had the same dress on, he had to change, I think.
I'm liking the suit. That's very Doctor Who-ish, that suit. I like it.
Ironically,
same level as Sydney Sweeney, I tell you.
Ironically, it is, yes. So there he is with Glenn Powell, Zendaya, Nicole Kidman, Dev Patel, Zoe Saldana, the gorgeous Sydney Sweeney. My God, have I got it bad for Jonathan Bailey's there, Doctor Who guest star Jonathan Bailey, who's officially made it too, and Bill Skarsgård's there as well. So this is impressive company for Ncuti Gatwa, who at the moment he's the star of a TV show that on the surface isn't doing very well. I was quite surprised to see him here, but this is the Hollywood issue, the 31st annual Hollywood issue. It's a big deal, I suppose, if you read Vanity Fair magazine, Simon, but it's only part of the publicity. There's a full brand new interview with the man himself, Ncuti Gatwa. There he is again. Look, it's almost like this could pass as kind of army fatigues.
Well, it's like a camp unit officer, isn't it? Next, look.
Well, if you think that's camp, wait till you see the headline. The headline of his interview says, Doctor Who Ncuti Gatwa is on the move. I like to think of myself as Madonna, he says. God, I'm still reinventing myself. So Ncuti Gatwa, the new Madonna. A surprise to you, Simon, that he sees himself as Madonna?
Well, you know, I mean, I don't often think of Ncuti Gatwa and Madonna in the same sentence, but you know, well, all credit to him. I think Madonna is just ever so slightly more successful than Ncuti Gatwa. But you know, align yourself with the stars, and I guess it begins to rub off on you, John.
That's his appeal, Simon, isn't it? He's very modest.
He's modest. One thing we can hail him for is his modesty, and I applaud him for that.
The shy and retiring Ncuti Gatwa.
Never knowingly undersold our Ncuti Gatwa.
Yeah.
Never knowingly.
John's paying tribute to him right now. Look, check it out.
Well, he popped round to mine earlier because he was crying because he went in Sainsbury's and he saw they were selling blackcurrant jam and he thinks it's racist. So, you know.
Oh, the poor lamb. Ncuti Gatwa, of course, is the current Doctor Who. Here he is with Millie Gibson as Ruby Sunday in that most recent season that I think we've sort of digested mostly now. 4 or 5 months ago. It only seems like weeks, doesn't it? He's back pretty soon, but that's not why he's publicising himself here in Vanity Fair. It's more to do with the stage work and some new film that he's made with Olivia Colman. That's what he's sort of banging on about, really. Yeah, so he looks halfway human here, and he has a few things to say about his craft, you see, because Ncuti Gatwa, believe it or not, you may scoff, Charlotte, but Ncuti Gatwa is a serious actor, so he says. And he says, yeah, so he's still reinventing himself, and he claims, I like each role to be very different from the last.
And you cannot say the next line with a straight face. You can't. You can't.
And I like to use all of the tools in my kit as an actor that I've learnt through the University of Life and Drama School and all of that. I mean, yeah, I haven't seen him in many things, but he's not done that much. He's played a lot of camp black men. That's his shtick. And it's okay, it's fine, but this is not a chameleon of an actor. He plays the camp black guy, doesn't he?
And also, how old is he again? He's like 30, isn't he?
32.
Yeah, the University of
Life.
Yeah.
Right, Ncuti.
He goes on to say, I'm such a people watcher. Yeah, I think I'd find it quite disturbing if I felt Ncuti Gatwa was watching me, to be honest. Human beings are amazing and terrible and very weird. Speak for yourself. Me. We are so weird. Takes one to know one, pal. I want to play every single type of human. I mean, in all seriousness, as nauseating as some of this stuff is to read, you can see what he's trying to do. He's trying to sort of conjure up that mystique, isn't he, of being an actor, how he has to dig deep to reach these characters. And, you know, with a lot of actors, I like reading interviews with actors. Obviously, I follow entertainment. But with this one, I don't know, I've read this interview, so you don't have to. And I don't know, it just feels so much by numbers. I'm a people watcher. Oh, I put every tool in my kit, all that kind of thing. I don't know. I think I'd probably respect him a little more if he said, look, I'm a bit of a chancer. I do what I do. You either like it or you don't. I'll take my money, go home, and buy myself something nice.
Yeah, I'd respect him if he was to say that. It feels, I don't know, it feels a little arrogant to say I like to use all the tools in my kit that I've learned to I for example, I think, would Tom Baker say something like that? No, he
Probably
wouldn't.
not.
And yet actually Tom Baker is one of the people who could say something. Peter Capaldi could say that, but I don't think Peter Capaldi would say. Peter Capaldi has a heck of a lot of tools in his kit. And so he would be justified in saying that. I don't know. It feels like, I don't know, ideas above one's station to me. I think you just have to. I think Peter Davison, who was of a similar age when he took on the role of the Doctor in the early 80s, I don't think Peter Davison had done quite a few roles by the time he came to the part of the Doctor, far more than Ncuti Gatwa has. And I don't think even he would sort of say, I like to use all the tools in my kit that I've learned. I don't know. It feels a little bit overblown to me. Forgive me.
I would say it's not too bad, because where he's saying about he's using all the tools in his kit, in a few years' time when he can't get an acting job for love nor money, and he's a builder on a construction site, he will have to use all the tools in his kit. So
fair point. He's going to need a lot of tools.
Yeah.
I think as well, and the problem is he's trying to clearly say, look at me, I'm so like multi-talented and like I can do all these things in my acting.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. But the problem is, Ncuti, your Doctor in your first series had the opposite of that. You had
I'd love to see all of this.
that you kept doing. And then if you weren't upset or crying, if you weren't hyper like a 5-year-old, or if you weren't a little bit angry, those were the 3 Doctor things I saw of you. 3. Whereas in Matt's first episode, I saw way more than that in 1 episode. And he worked his Doctor on multiple levels and all of these things. So it feels a bit like, to me, he's over egging, because he sort of knows that he's not shown in his work all these brilliant skills he's banging on about.
I mean, Charlotte, we're now about to hit the first anniversary of Shooty Gatwa making his first sort of on-screen appearance in The Giggle. And I really liked him. I was quite excited about the casting of Shooty Gatwa for it seemed like about 2 years in between the announcement and him being on screen. I was very keen to see what he was going to do. I thought he was great in The Giggle, and then ever since, I mean, there's been a lot of valleys with very few peaks. So when I read stuff like this in this grand magazine with this roll-out cover with all these movie stars, I think, have I slipped into a parallel universe where the last season of Doctor Who was massively popular and Shooty Gatwa is some sort of household name?
Why is he, out of interest, why is he in the Hollywood issue? Is he big in Hollywood now?
Don't know. He must have some negatives, some JPEGs, incriminating evidence. I'm not entirely sure.
Well, no, but it's like, compared to Jonathan Bailey, for example, he had a massive Netflix hit with Bridgerton. Like, everybody was watching that, and lots of people lauded him, actually, in that role he played for those seasons. He's about to be in Wicked, which, bar a certain actress opening her mouth, has looked like it's going to make a lot of money. It's actually going to be quite popular as a Christmas movie. And he's playing a love interest in that. So that's a big part. And he's got a lot more actual, I would say, acclaimed roles than Shooty. So it makes sense he'd be there. But Shooty's one credit is, I danced around in Barbie for 2 minutes.
Oh, yeah, of course. I forgot about that. Yeah. Does that make him a Hollywood star? Maybe it does.
Well, I hate to be the one that goes there. In fact, I don't hate it, but it's because of the diversity card that is a big prevalent thing in Hollywood now. We've only got to think about the recent election that's happened, and these people were telling people you've got to think a certain way. They live in a bubble. They think that they are
the Avengers video.
Exactly. So they think like this, and they think, right, he's not very talented, but we've got to hit our quota. We've got to have these people, every ethnicity that we can find, we've got to put them in there. This is what it's about. It's not about talent with these people anymore. It's about who ticks that box. And he is a classic example of no talent and ticking that box. He has come along in the right place at the right time, in my opinion.
That's you're absolutely right. Garbage asks in the live chat, was Shooty's dad a toolmaker? What do you think? There is more, I'm afraid to say. We're spoiling you with yet more. He goes on to say, when you've been around for thousands of years, you pick up a slight pep in your step. If you were getting the chance to be reborn and reborn and reborn and reborn, you'd get excited. And so curiosity and excitement were the two qualities I really wanted to imbue him with.
And yet cried every story.
About himself.
So all of this sounds fantastic. There have been several interviews. We haven't been down. Well, I haven't been down on Shooty relentlessly over the last year.
I hope not.
Some of the interviews he's given have been okay. And I like the idea that I think there was a point where he really did have a good grasp of the character, but that was some way now into the distance. And so reading all of this stuff, now we've had a whole season of it, it just seems quite hollow, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't hit the ground running, has he?
No.
and I think to a certain extent, I'm with John on this. He's using the moment to grift, and he's obviously got tabs on himself. There's no getting around that. And I think people have built him up and used the current opportunities to make something that he's obviously not. And I found that strange. They've still got what's her name, Nicole Kidman in that shot as well, because Nicole Kidman's been around the block a bit. Like, she's like, what, 60 now? And so I think, she's that they're obviously they were trying to hit the mark with all those people. You had someone from they didn't have Sam Olu there, but they had everybody else under the sun and of every race, and I think he just happened to make that quota, but I worry because I feel that in 5 years' time he's not going to be a big massive hit. Look, I'm going to go back to Sydney Sweeney again, but Sydney Sweeney, she just come out of nowhere. She just come out of nowhere, and it just seemed like she just seemed to push everybody out of the way with her attributes. And she became virtually a household name. She's using it to a full extent.
And to be fair, Matt, Glenn Powell is also on the way there as well, off the back of Top Gun Maverick and Twisters. Some of these hits are bigger than others, but this is a guy that people are excited about and want to see in movies. This guy is already a movie star, but could be in 5 years' time absolutely massive. Whereas I think that Shooty will still be playing the same kind of characters. And I don't say that with any relish at all. I really believed in him, was really excited about him coming to the show. He finishes off. I mean, he has, how could we forget how dismissive he was of fans earlier in the year, the people who are unhappy, not completely on board with what was going on the show. He suggested perhaps we should all go and touch grass rather than watch. But he has been doing a little bit of backtracking, and he does go a little deeper again in this. So they asked him, this is Vanity Fair, right? So Vanity Fair asked him, the question was, this is the age of Brexit and MAGA, right? Brexit. Was there a racist or homophobic backlash to your casting? Brexit and MAGA. I mean, firstly, what on earth has Brexit got to do with race? Why would it have any impact on an actor being cast or not, or the residence of any actor in any role? Why would the involvement of Britain in a trade arrangement that it had been in since 1971-72, and coming out of that potentially through a democratic vote several years ago now, why would that have any impact on Ncuti Gatwa getting roles as an actor? It mystifies me. This comes from Vanity Fair. So they ask, in the age of Brexit and MAGA, was there a homophobic and racist backlash to your casting? And he says, those are voices that exist in sci-fi fandoms, but they're not the only voices. I just remember feeling a lot of warmth and love being embraced into a big nerd family. When we're shooting Doctor Who, there are fans outside the studio or on location every single time. So I concentrate on that more than anything. Now, I think that's a fabulous thing that he's saying this stuff. He said things like this 2 or 3 times since the touch grass statement. So I don't know if I'd describe it as backtracking so much, but it is reassuring that he's not throwing his arms up at all fans all the time. But he then goes on to say, I don't want to invalidate the very real thing that is racism and homophobia. I don't act as if they don't exist or they don't affect me. They do. But I try to pay no mind and look at the many, many positives that came from joining the Whoniverse. On the surface of it, I haven't got a problem with this statement.
I think that's totally fair enough. Yeah.
But what I was wondering, Simon, people have got long memories. Doctor Who fans have got really long memories. The stuff he said earlier on in the year, do you think this is going to smooth the way a little? This more rounded, more even way of explaining himself, and an appeal to that part of us that loves the character that he's playing, regardless of how we feel about him as a person or as an actor.
No, it's difficult, isn't it? Because that there's absolutely nothing wrong with that statement that you've just read out. And it's sad because had that kind of statement been made all those months ago, instead of telling us to go touch grass, I think we would have come to Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor with very different sensibilities and attitudes. it's difficult, isn't it? You can't.
I'm angrier with Vanity Fair for the leading question, for the irrelevant framing of that question. But I haven't got an issue with this statement at all.
No, the statement does say it's fine. What I'd love is Shooty to acknowledge that telling people to touch grass was probably as intolerant as
stupid.
The intolerance that he quite rightly preaches against. And so I'd love to just hear Shooty Gatwa just say, look, I was a bit upset at the time, and I don't, and that was the way I felt at the time. So I was hurt, but to sort of distance myself from people was probably not the right thing to do. And so I apologize if I offended anybody who had meant no offense in the first place. I think there's you can. I think Doctor Who fans actually do have a lot of forgiveness in their hearts, and that they'll forgive. When you look at what we've forgiven through the years,
I can excuse a lot. I can excuse a lot, particularly when anyone is asked a question, either in bad faith or if they're trying to push them into a corner. I mean, I do think the framing of that question is terrible.
Mm. Well, yeah, because it's deliberately trying to elicit a response. But
he's actually dug himself out of that hole there, I think, quite well.
Yeah, he has dug himself out of the hole. The problem is, and this is not Shooty Gatwa's fault, that at every turn, every interviewer that comes along to chat to Shooty Gatwa is going to take this angle of racism and homophobia.
Every interview now, though,
and that to me is the whole point. If we're truly breaking down barriers, why are we still asking Shooty Gatwa whether he's getting racism and homophobic comments? We should be moving on from that now, and that's not Shooty Gatwa's fault, unless it's something that he deliberately brings into the conversation. If he's asked a question, he has to respond to it. And it does frustrate me that these days, every time you're talking to a gay actor, you're going to ask them about homophobia. You're a black actor, you're going to ask them about why? Why do we keep on having...
Yeah.
The whole point is we should be breaking down these barriers and ignoring the fact that he's
grievances,
black and gay.
Grievances, labels, division. Whereas we should be talking
getting rid of labels.
About unity, because Doctor Who is a show that brings people together. Got a comment here from Neil Perryman in the live chat who says the BAFTA award-winning actor has no talent. Right. Depends which BAFTA is right. Depends which BAFTA is won, doesn't it, John?
Yeah, Twerking of the Year award or something.
What are the BAFTAs? The BAFTAs are not what they used to be, are they, Charlotte? No. I wouldn't say anybody can win a BAFTA, but a lot of them are kind of dished out just because.
I was going to say, and lots of people
have different
stock in what a BAFTA is now. The value of that trophy or that award to certain people is pretty minuscule, whereas to others it still means a lot more. I think the problem is with Shooty, and this I agree with you, there he actually was quite cordial and he was actually quite well worded.
Yeah.
Like that was one of his a lot more thoughtful sort of responses, which is great that he's doing that now. And for all I said before about him, I'm in this camp that I want to see Shooty do better because I do think there's potential in him. But my point next is, even if he's now giving interviews like that, the problem is he's got a production team right now around him. He's got Russell right now. He's got multiple other people associated with the brand who keep stepping in it, who keep provoking fans to not be happy, that keep sticking like their oar in and saying things which are just, as soon as we start to maybe heal a bit as a fandom or start to feel we can forgive, it feels like somebody else is just waiting in the wings right now to step in that place and get it all sort of fiery again. And I feel like Shooty now is going to be fighting that pretty much for the rest of his run, because there's so many people, I feel like, in Russell's team right now, which haven't got the memo about, can you not bash fans? Can you not antagonize fans? We need to make the show a success. Or
can we just tell good stories, Charlotte?
Exactly, Simon. It's been the same since the series was weaponized in the first place back in 2017, 2018. to tell you the truth, and it's very, very tiresome. I agree with Babette Bombshell there in the live chat. That the BAFTAs are the industry promoting the industry. The idea that, somebody won a BAFTA, doesn't wash with me, Neil, sorry, but obviously other opinions are available. So that's Vanity Fair. If you're tempted to read more, the interview is online, along with a video where Shooter Gatwa goes through how much he loves girl rap.
Right.
He takes you through his favourite girl rap artists from throughout the decades. There
can't read a Is that the one? Is that the one?
Yeah, that's it.
Reader. Oh, is that who that is? Because I don't know who these people are, but I'm
That's
guessing.
Nicky, what's the name, isn't it?
No.
Teleprompter.
No, that is his new haircut for the new series.
Knock yourselves out with that.
Black balls.
Yeah, Russell T Davies just loving winding up the fan base. It's his ego, says Super John. This isn't Russell though, is it? Because obviously this isn't a tour that is promoting Doctor Who at all. He's sort of been put on the spot. Do you think Russell's primed him with what to say, John? Whatever you say, don't say this. If you say that, lean into that. Or is it a case of, he's in the play at the moment, he's promoting something else, he's sort of freewheeling?
But there's two things, really. The first one is, I think it's, sadly, we're in an era again where the people that have pushed this have created more hatred, probably in my lifetime, than I've ever noticed before, because I actually felt that certainly towards the late 90s and in the early 2000s, we'd actually all, as a society, we'd got to a pretty decent place.
Yeah, we had.
And suddenly this crops up, and it's stirring up the red ants between the black ants, and it is a horrible thing. I think Shooty, has done well there. I would hope that somebody is prepping him behind the scenes now and actually saying, no, okay, pull that article, or pull that question. But RTD wouldn't be giving him any coaching. I suspect those two are not really in a communication much these days as well. I've said before, I think he's already gone from the show. I think everyone, the two parties are going in their own directions now.
And I think
we should start I think we should start the Charlotte party. Mosh in the live chat, Simon. I suggest, Charlotte, you're so sensible when you talk, you'd make a great politician.
Oh, is that a compliment nowadays?
You were saying, Simon?
No, I was just going to say that I agree with John in that I don't think Russell T Davies would have sort of be remotely briefing Shooting Out One now. If you think throughout the whole history of Doctor Who, when Peter Davison was in the show, for example, he was doing a lot of press interviews because he was just such a star at the time. David Tennant's in the new run. When they were interviewed, would they be being briefed by the production team at that point, or anybody from? No, they wouldn't. It was different when the show was in production and when interviews were specifically taking place, specifically centered around the production. I still feel I'm still surprised that some of the interviews got through at that time, that they weren't filtered out by the production team, by Bad Wolf, BBC, whatever, because at that point they would have been specifically referring to Doctor Who. But this will have no. I think it's very, very unlikely, unless there is something in his contract that it would have been lent on in any way. Sorry,
David Milling says, if you continually barrack your audience, sooner or later they will desert you.
Yeah, that's true.
The thing is with these interviews is that we're living in a world of social media. So the interviewers are not practiced or trained in proper journalism. They've come from YouTube channels. They've come from, whatever Instagram that they've been, that they have. They all look. It's so funny every time now I look at these, and it says that their job is they are an influencer, and it seems that this is going into the acting type of thing too. So, you know, like I said, with Sydney Sweeney, she has products and that she sells on her Instagram and that, and you know, I mean, she's very good at it. But you know, you just it's sort of mangled in together now, and unfortunately, we need to separate professionalism with trying to make money, you know. And unfortunately,
right now, Ncuti Gatwa is selling Ncuti Gatwa predominantly, isn't he? He obviously has ambitions in his chosen field, and in all sincerity, I wish him every success. Ideally, I'd like that big success to be with Doctor Who. I want to see him deliver on the potential, which is simply not happening right now, and so they just seem like such hollow words.
I honestly think Ncuti Gatwa has got star quality. You know, just looking at him in that photo, he has got star charisma and quality. He's got the chops to do it. Whether he's got the acting chops is another matter. And I just worry that he maybe he just needs a better publicist to sort of advise him on what would be good to say. You know, that's my thoughts. I think he does have the potential. I just wonder whether he just needs guiding better. I don't know. And better choice of roles.
Well, look, I know somebody who could guide him very, very well. If his guidance has been at fault under Russell T Davies, it's because he hasn't got the right producer or director or writer to steer the ship. I think he doesn't need someone like Russell T Davies. He doesn't even need Super John there from the live chat. He needs somebody absolutely mega. Just got the correct bloke on the join the panel now. He's back. Ian David Diaz, the mega geek. You could sort him out in a heartbeat, mate, couldn't you?
Thank God I'm late. Thank God I'm late. Jesus Christ.
You're just in time. You're just in time, mate, because I can tell you, you can get 5 minutes, 5 whole brand new minutes of Ncuti Gatwa as Doctor Who. That's coming your way for BBC Children in Need. That's Friday, the 15th of November from 7 p.m. on BBC One and on BBC iPlayer. I know, tomorrow, as of time of recording, you're going to get 5 new minutes of the Doctor Who special there on the show. This is the 43rd telethon, Children in Need, on the BBC on a Friday night. You know, I don't know really anybody who watches this thing anymore. I'm not even sure Doctor Who is going to be a big draw for it at all. 5 minutes of the Christmas special, though, Charlotte. No dedicated, specially filmed Children in Need skit this time. But to be fair, you know, after how bad things went last year, you know, this was the reception over on X. Doctor Who, this is how impressed people were, defund the BBC. So,
I think go well. I was scared we're going to get a sequel of Davros learning how to dance this year. So we haven't got that, so it's good.
Evil fancy this year.
Oh, God.
No, I was just like, oh, Russell, like, just do it, and then we can all laugh and just say you're an idiot. But no, to be fair, they need to start promoting this special. Like, I've seen nothing for this.
To be fair, the BBC's Christmas schedule doesn't launch generally until the first week of December.
I know they don't launch, but I mean, as in just starting to promote this thing coming out, just starting to either have images out or little something. And so it makes sense that they've used Children in Need because Doctor Who has traditionally had something there. And I think I've seen quite a few people who were basically having the thought of, well, this is Moffat's writing this one. So maybe this could actually be something that's worth watching, but it's very much like I said, that cagey sort of we'll see approach. Because of the Moffat name, because of it being a one-off special.
Yes, Doctor Who has this grand history with Children in Need, doesn't it? It doesn't quite stretch back to 1981, but it does go back to 1983 and the Five Doctors, that feature-length special, and numerous specials of various lengths and qualities in the years in between. So some memories are happier than others. But generally speaking, that connection between Doctor Who and Children in Need, it certainly was always part of my sort of childhood, my upbringing. So I do like the fact that Doctor Who is there. I feel it should be there because it's supposed to be a family event. Doctor Who is the ultimate family show in the BBC sort of portfolio, if you like. But I think people have got a bit hyped up expecting something new. And now it's just going to be 5 minutes of Joy to the World. And I'm kind of looking forward to Joy to the World. I'm sure it'll be fine. But I'd rather they just hold on to it all until Christmas Day myself. I don't really see much point in them breaking it up and giving us 5 minutes now. It just seems a bit strange.
Yeah, I think if it was kind of a freestanding 5-minute prequel to Joy to the World that is seen in its own rights, that helped set up Joy to the World, that would be a good, legitimate thing to broadcast. But just it never works to me when on anything like this where they sort of throw out a chunk of something that you're going to get to see because you're seeing it out of context, so it's not really very easy to work out where am I in the story at this point. Maybe if they were to screen the first 5 minutes of Joy to the World, but just a chunk that's, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes in or something. I don't know. It feels a bit random. It also feels a bit lazy. It's just a bit cheap. I suppose,
Simon, if we talk about a show which is struggling to attract the attention of a casual audience, Children in Need doesn't get the viewers that it used to, but a lot more people watch Children in Need than watch Doctor Who. And so this is, in effect, an ideal place to have a bit of a relaunch. So, as you say, maybe showing them the first 5 minutes, John, it could, it's as simple as, for the rest of it, make sure you're here on Christmas Day, then you'll find out the rest. But it has to be a killer 5 minutes.
Yeah, and I don't think you're going to get a killer 5. sorry, I'm being the Mr. Cynical tonight. But
even with Stephen Moffat back, because Moffat's script for the last season was pretty strong.
No, I mean, I didn't enjoy it. I mean, I think I've said to you, I'm out for the new series. I've got to that point now where it's just not Doctor Who for me. I mean, I'm at that point now where my massive excitement is the latest box set that came out. That's just pure joy for me.
Yeah,
and the new. I'm just, and it's just because of a case of, how many times have I given them an opportunity, and how many times, like we were talking about earlier, where they've made an insulting comment, and the episode has been awful. That they never learn from their mistakes, and this is not just Doctor Who. There's how many shows over the last decade have crashed and burned where they've pushed the angles that they've pushed, because they will not listen to the audience. They write it for a minority, and people just aren't interested in it. And I think come Christmas,
War to the World.
Yeah, I think it was, for me, when I watched that first trailer for it, I thought, it's okay at first, and then when I saw that Silurian come through the door, and I was like, oh no. And then when I saw Shooty come through the door, and I was like, right, I'm going to go and have a hot bath now.
Stephen Braddock says soil to the world. We've got various different puns on the name, on the title of this next episode of Doctor Who, starring Shooty Gatwa and Nicola Coughlan, from Bridgerton and Derry Girls. She seems to be flavour of the month at the moment. We've got a quote from Stephen Moffat here, Charlotte. He's teased the Christmas special to BBC South East today. And this is the first actual information we've got on the plot. And he says, imagine in the far, far future, imagine that a hotel chain got hold of the idea of time travel. What's the first thing they would do? Moffat says they'd realise they had an opportunity to sell us all the unsold nights at their hotels in history. It's a very Stephen Moffat premise, a very timey, you-know-what premise. Does this entice you, Charlotte? Are you feeling this?
No, because I'm trying to work out... No, I'm just... Honestly, it's confused me a bit, but that's very Moffat, to be fair. Unsold nights. So is it just rooms?
Yeah.
Is it just they're selling you a room?
Nights, I'd say, if you want to stay at a hotel in the middle of London on a winter's night in 1967.
Oh, okay.
We've got a room free at the Savoy on that date at that place in time. I think that's quite a clever idea, but they've only got 55, 60 minutes to play with this thing.
Well,
After that, I've got to worry. Sorry, Charlotte. I'll let you speak and I'll say it. Sorry.
No, I was just the thing that I'm thinking about. You're right. That's quite a high sort of brow concept. And
Christmas Day
specials tend to go more on the fluffy side. They tend to be a little bit more throwaway in the sense of it's not connected to the main series. Let's have a bit of a laugh. And that's the vibe I got off that teaser, to be honest. It seemed to be comedic. So I don't know if that can be pulled off, but I'll see sort of approach.
I mean, 41 years ago, they didn't think they'd be able to pull off the 5 Doctors. Simon and Robert Holmes couldn't pull it off, could he? He walked. Terence Dix took on the gig, bringing all those Doctors together back in 1983. 5 Doctors for the win, says Richard. Cast a long shadow, didn't it, the 5 Doctors, and perhaps they should stop trying. I don't know.
They're certainly never going to top the 5 Doctors. I did. So what we're basically saying with this Christmas special is that they're going to use time travel to try and sell loads more hotel rooms. And somebody did jokingly say to me, it's a shame that the production team can't get a hold of a time machine and go back in time to get back all the viewers that they've lost over the past I don't know how many years. It's a bit of an ironic kind of concept.
We've got another comment from Neil here who says it's just going to be the 4-minute YouTube clip they released around 3 months ago. Surely, apparently not, Neil. Apparently it is new material. Maybe there'll be some pieces of that in there, but it is going to be 5 whole minutes. I know you said it was 4 minutes, but that was made up of various bits, the top and the tail, wasn't it? I think this is actual a chunk of the actual narrative that we're going to be getting, rather than a fast cut trailer.
I've got a prediction what it's going to be. I think it's going to be 5 minutes of being introduced to this new character,
and it's going to be joking comedy.
It's going to be like the beginning when you don't have the Doctor so much in the episode, I think. And it's
focused on joy.
Yeah, I think it's going to be his joy. And that's what this is going to be sort of used for, is my prediction.
Time travel launch, says Kip Ellis. We like that. You can stay. Ezra Goldstein's not impressed, but Lord Thoth does say that's an interesting premise. So some people are enticed by this. My feeling is it is rather high concept for Christmas Day. Maybe
it doesn't rivet me.
Pull it off.
Does it rivet you, Dan? Am I sitting here thinking, wow, that sounds like a lot of fun?
It doesn't rivet me, but it does amuse me. The idea amuses me, and with Stephen Moffat's stuff, I do find some of his episodes and concepts very amusing, but often when they're delivered, I find the hit rate can be a little variable depending on how. And I like Stephen Moffat's work, I sincerely do, but sometimes his voice in those scripts can be a little too pleased with himself. Sometimes that breaks the spell a little for me. So it'll depend on how reined in that side to his writing is, I think, as to whether the episode hits home for me.
Can we not? For me though, as well, there's got to be the hope. The thing that kills me is what we want is if you're going to do Doctor Who, have scares in it, for crying out loud. I'm fed up with all this what I call whimsy. You know what I mean?
I agree.
It's all of that. It's just.
I blame Douglas Adams.
If you're not going to take it seriously, and it's going to be this level, then it's never going to get back to what it was. Because if you notice, they're not really doing monsters much now either. That's something that's been missing in season 1, bar a big dog, and we talked about that. I'm not going back there, but.
And a snot monster.
And a snot monster,
and mobile vaginas.
I yearn to. You're right, John. I yearn to get back to sort of scary stuff. And Christmas is perfect for scary stuff. You know, the ghost stories of Christmas, all that sort of stuff. It works. Spooky stuff does work. So why do we have to have goofy fun? Why can we not have scares? I don't know.
Well,
do you know what?
Moffat, when he's on his prime, can actually do.
You're right, Charlotte.
Dark.
He can do that stuff really well.
He can. So, and before, I remember he's done this before, where an episode's looked quite silly, it's looked quite goofy, and actually there's an underlining sort of menace. There's an underlining sort of dark, and if he can pull that off, I think it will actually do a lot of good, and it could actually be quite a good watch if he manages that. And I think I would trust Moffat more than Russell right now to do that.
Yeah, I would agree, actually.
So would I.
I think I would also say as well, Dan, quickly, you know, how many times do the production team and the writers say, with Doctor Who, you can do anything. You can go to any place, anytime. You can tell any story. But yet we always come back to the whimsy Christmas story. You know, and
I don't know.
It's just, I'm fed up with it. Bored.
Yeah, I'm bored with the Christmas specials, I must say.
Yeah.
Well, they've only been back 2 years. Doctor Who will return properly on Christmas Day with Joy to the World by Stephen Moffat. We get 5 minutes of that, a sneaky peek. Is it a sneak peek? No, it's a great big chunk of it with the Children in Need telethon on Friday, the 15th of November. That'll be up on the iPlayer as well, long after. So I think people are... Well, people were watching that over the weekend. I suppose I'd better watch it so I know what people are talking about. I'd rather wait until I see the whole thing, but I think hosting this show, really, I've got to see it. But let us know what you think, not just about the 5 minutes worth of new Doctor Who that's coming your way in 24 hours, but about this whole strategy. You know, they have done this before. This isn't the first time. Will this reach anybody, or the people that it's lost over the last 12 months since the 60th specials, which did do pretty well? A lot of those people didn't return on the weekly for season 1, did they? So could this bring any of them back? I think we can only hope. Hope. Is hope lost? I hope not. Yes, it's time now to restore your hope and empty your bladder, everybody. Golden faces and golden voices as a soundtrack to your golden couple of minutes. Courtesy of the Type 40 Live Doctor Who ad break, Doctor Who faces and voices, selling you bits of old tat from telly times past. We'll be back in a couple of minutes with more Type 40 Live. See you then.
Kitty Cat Supreme, high in protein. Kitty Cat. To satisfy a cat's appetite for life. High protein Kitty Cat. You couldn't have a fitter cat.
In the history of robots, one breed stands out as the epitome of evil, and they're back to wreak mayhem and havoc. On my foot! Yeah, I've got the power. Inflict your revenge this Christmas on the new remote-control Dalek. Yeah, they've got the lot, the flashing lights, electronic banter, and the idle threats. And they're all useless when it comes to climbing the stairs. The new remote-control Dalek is now available for $69.99 by dialing 0800 975 4591.
Frustrating, isn't it? When you need an any-purpose loan but don't know who to talk to about unlocking the capital tied up in your property. Even if you're self-employed, consider yourself to have a low credit rating, divorced, or retired. Don't worry, because Ocean Finance hold the key. Call 0800 858 858 and Ocean could help you. Ocean loans can be used for any purpose, and all circumstances will be considered. You may wish to improve your home, or buy a newer car, or simply consolidate all your existing debts into just one manageable monthly payment. There are no interviews, no arrangement fees, and no salesperson will call. So for that homeowner loan, call now. you'll be under no obligation and you could secure the loan you need. Call Ocean Finance now on 0800 858 858. That's 0800 858 858.
Pop! Smash hit! 100% pure pop!
Hello, welcome back to Type 40 Live, streaming across Rumble, X, YouTube, and on Facebook too, talking all things Doctor Who, the past, the present, and the future of the Whoniverse on and off screen. Covered a lot of ground so far, haven't we? But we're not staying on the ground for the next part. We're going somewhere else, out there. Yes, where? I do love this. Canary Wharf with the Sixth Doctor, all the way back in 1993, staying there with the children in need vibes. Do you remember this, Ian? Did you? Are you into 3D? Do you remember these?
Yeah, I remember this, and also Canary Wharf is not like how it used to be then.
No.
So yeah, I remember this. Not my favourite Doctor, but hey, he's the
Can't have
Doctor.
everything.
You know what I mean? So there you go. Oh, by the way, right, you were
Yes.
talking about Mr. Powell a couple of minutes ago.
Glenn Powell.
Glenn Powell. They were shooting The Running Man, starring him, in Battersea Power Station, just down there.
Were
So
they?
I saw him walking down the road. I saw all the cameras. So
fabulous.
Did you ask for an autograph?
No, because I don't do things like that. But I saw him walking down. There was no bodyguards or anything. He was just walking down the road, talking to.
Did he ask you for an autograph?
He did actually. He said, "You're the Mickey Geek, aren't you?" It's like, "You have your autograph." It's like, no.
Edgar Wright's directing that, isn't he? Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Yes,
Can't believe
we're
it,
back.
like, so close. Sorry.
We're back. We've got lots of comments again. Ian, people enjoying the advert. Scary. It's good, says Rob Alexander. I think he's talking about the advert there with the cat and Mary Tam. I blame JNT, says Michael Q. Well, that's going back a bit. He's been dead 22 years. And Neil Perriman asks, when was the last time Doctor Who was genuinely scary, though? I can't even remember. Was it midnight? Neil, we covered that on Type 40 Live, Top of the Shocks, just a couple of weeks ago for Halloween. You can find that in the playlist. You'll get all our answers to all of that. Rob says it's hardly a telethon. If Children in Need only lasts 3 hours from 7 till 10. We used to complain when it went on till midnight, Rob. Come on.
Why is it only going till 10?
That was when
Looks like
good.
it.
Wow.
Oh yeah, no, they do it shortened version.
Because they used to go to 1 o'clock in the morning, as I recall, with all the adult jokes and stuff. Didn't they?
That was when they had a proper professional running the gig, when Wogan was the sheriff in town. Now you got Dermot O'Leary and all these other people. What's his name? Vernon Kay. Some flat-jawed BBC no more. Come on. Yeah, that's it. They don't have the content. You're quite right. But yeah, content. Great link, Matt. Content. That's what we're all thinking about right now. Certainly everybody involved with intellectual properties is hungering for more content so they can sling them on the streaming platform. And Doctor Who is no different. The Whoniverse is expanding with a 5-part event series, The War Between the Land and the Sea. This is the cast of the spin-off, and they've been filming it now for a couple of months, haven't they? So there's Magugu, Matha Raw there, and there's Russell Tovey, and what's her name? Who's only been on the show for 12 years. I can never remember her name. Plays, she plays, what's her name from Unit?
She knows.
Gemma Redgrave.
She plays, my dad.
Ruth Madeley's back there as well. So the gang are all there. It seems like they're having a good time. And generally speaking, even though there's been a lot of photos from the filming of The War Between the Land and the Sea, we've stayed away from a lot of it because it's a lot of actors that we don't know, running around industrial sites or along beaches. It all looks a little bit bland and out of context. We can't really judge based on just a few buildings and characters that we haven't met yet. So it's all a little bit dull. That kind of changed this week, though, when one particular picture from a night shoot at the weekend got tongues wagging. Simon, are you aware of this? this picture of a monster that has been sighted skulking around one of those said grey buildings during a night shoot for The War Between the Land and the Sea. Check this out. What do you think this could be here?
You want a serious answer? What on earth could that be? Surely it's not a sea devil or a Cyclurian, is it? Surely not.
That's the question. That's what's on everybody's lips, because obviously we know very little about The War Between the Land and the Sea, and why wouldn't we? It's like 18 months, 2 years away from our screens. But one of the things that we do know, that I think Pete McTighe has said, Russell T Davies has said, is that the Sea Devils, the classic Doctor Who monsters, which first appeared around 72, was it, Simon? Something like that?
Yeah. The Sea Devils, 72, yeah.
They are going to feature in this. And so when this picture made its way over onto X, everybody's gone, oh my God, it's the new Sea Devil. They've humanized the Sea Devil just like they did the Silurians back in 2010. Charlotte, I mean, what do you think? Could this be a Sea Devil?
I think there's enough features that make you think, just because of it's clearly a creature from the sea of some description. Yeah. So I think it's very sort of, of course fans are saying that. And to be honest, if that's the way they're going with it, I think that's the most boring way they could go. And it's the most predictable, honestly.
Because in a show that's called The War Between the Land and the Sea, it's perfectly reasonable for sea creatures, sea life, to be involved in it, isn't it? And we know that some of the themes it's going to be kind of political thriller, but with monsters in it. So there's going to be themes of ecology and things like that.
I don't think it's a sea devil.
No, I don't think it is, Ian.
It's a fish person from Underwater Menace, isn't it?
Do you know what, John? That's the first thing that occurs to me.
Because if they did
honestly,
this, then basically all the fans will come out and complain, won't they? So I don't think they'll go down that route.
No, I don't.
They know what's good for them. Yeah.
I can't detect a single thing in the design of this creature that leads me to believe that it's a sea devil. Not one.
I think it's a sea monkey. From the
do you know what? It does look a bit like.
Remind us what the sea monkeys were, Matt. Some people might not know.
I remember
they were they were about 50 cents on the back of a comic book, and they were krill. Is that right? They were krill. Or something
I can't
like
remember what the actual creature is.
Water, and then suddenly they were like little creatures, but they were horrible little things. And added water and that, and they were supposed to be on the back of the comic. They had their own kingdom and everything like that.
But they did look like this. The little cartoon of them did look like this on the packaging. You're quite right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Whereas the Sea Devils have appeared.
TV show.
Whereas the Sea Devils have appeared 3 times now, look like this.
Yeah.
And because they appeared so recently in that centre one, that's why I just don't think that it would be nonsensical of them to redesign them to that extent, because they've appeared in the modern series in their traditional Sea Devil guise. I just don't see any logic as to why they would have redesigned them to that extent. I think that photo that we're looking at, it will be some sort of sea creature. It still doesn't make a lot of sense that it's got a human face, unless there is some reason in the narrative as to why it's got a human face. But I don't think it's a sea.
I mean, this could be a bit of a relief, because we did have some fears, didn't we? We did have some fears, so it could have been worse.
They will be appearing.
Actually, Lord, what is it? Non-binary, non-fishery? What is it?
But could it be? And somebody just said, Steven just said it, a hybrid. Could it be like a sub,
could be
like a branching thing? Like we'll see like what you said in the center, and then we'll see these things which are a part of the family of Sea Devils, but they are a branch of it, and then. The ones
in the way that there are branches of the Silurian.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. So you can have both in the.
Obviously, it's not impossible. It's not obviously it's not impossible. We don't know the story of this. In the history of Doctor Who, classic Doctor Who, is that each serial would feature a monster. And outside of that particular serial, they didn't really go into the heritage of them, did they? The lineage or the nature of them in any real way, Simon, because that simply wasn't the task of the serial, was it? It was to tell the story and then bugger off so the next one can come in. And in the odd occasion where monsters did come back, it depended on how many years had been in between, whether they even bothered joining the dots there above the Sontarans. Sontarans is a prime example. Sometimes they looked wildly different.
They always look wildly different.
You can't get away with that in 2024. So, in all seriousness, I don't suppose we can rule anything out. But the fins for ears, the long fin along the middle of the head, at least with the humanized Silurians, they were reptilian, and there is something of the actual design. When we saw the Silurian designs in the Hungry Earth in those first pictures, it was a radical redesign, but you could tell it was a Silurian. Let's be honest. Whereas this, it reminds me. I don't know. I think if we assume that this is a Sea Devil, we're heading for the same kind of situation where people back in 2006 saw some pictures of the Jadoon out on location, put two and two together, and the word on Gallifrey base was that these must be Sontarans. Anybody remember that?
Yeah, I remember that very well, because I have to be honest, the same thought occurred to me. I remember seeing these and thinking they either are Sontarans, or if they're not Sontarans, we're never going to get to see Sontarans now because they look so much like Sontarans. Yeah, I remember it very well, Dan. We all thought they were Sontarans.
I think the difference was back then for me personally is when you had that bit with the Jadoon, I was so excited. I was like, are they Sontarans? And I was buzzing. I had to get every pic and have a look at it. Now I'm like, oh no, he's gone and done it again, isn't he? I think so that's where I am with it.
I think this is a new creature. I think this is a new creature that's created for the show. Doesn't look like a Sea Devil. And if it is a new creature, here's hoping it's scary, and here's hoping the show, works better than Doctor Who, because anything's got to be better than Doctor Who now, surely. So here's hoping that this is a new creature, and because we need new creatures, right? What was the last new creature we got? Yeah.
In this day and age, it could be a half human, half Sea Devil. So
I hope not.
Virus.
Probably, a lone swimmer went out on her own one day and, met a Sea Devil, and, they had love. They made love, and, this is, maybe this is the catalyst for the war.
The thing is, if they're filming now with it looks like actual creatures, we're not getting the actors as much. I think we'll probably soon enough get a better shot, a closer fan picture or something to see if there's anything more clear. Because I think actually the bigger clue will probably be what they're wearing for this, because the Sea Devils have always had a sort of a look in their clothes.
Netting. They've gone back to the netting motif most recently. And just as you say, Simon, the characters were only on screen 2 or 3 years ago. That even survived there onto that kind of pirate design. So I can't believe they'd abandoned that entirely, whereas this new character seems to be wearing some sort of almost like a robe across one shoulder and down. And it seems to be adorned with something that's sort of metallic, and there's a necklace too. That's pretty much all I can actually make out. It's like, it can't be teeth on the necklace. Maybe it is shark's teeth, that kind of thing. I can't quite make it out, but it's drastically different from anything there. Obviously, fandom has really run with this, and I'm concerned that they could be ruining yet another classic Doctor Who monster. Of course I am, but I don't really think there's any point in jumping at shadows, Maybe it's Spock, says Domgo. You never know.
Super John says it looks like an iridium, and I have to be honest, it does look like an iridium.
Yes.
If anybody's seen The Chase, it does look very much like an iridium, I have to say.
Problem Being is in the live chat. Welcome back, mate. And he
Hello,
says, will the humans team up with the Silurians to take on the Sea Devils? And whatever the hell this is, it doesn't make sense. Well, they've got 5 hours to tell that story, haven't they? So I would imagine it would make some sort of sense. when we see it, to be fair.
I think Matt's going to be right, and I think it's going to be a creation due to human and Sea Devil loving. I think that is going to happen. I do, because I could see them doing
I see, yeah.
to be there, you know. Why can't we all live in peace? You know, I'm created.
I'm transgender.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
That's what they're going for.
I can see it now. I can honestly. I mean, I'm never ever. I'm not surprised by anything that they do now. And I mean, you've got this hideous creature that's a great monster, and they're just not. They haven't been using them. Look at the bloody, the Silurians. I mean, what an absolute waste. That they.
What do you think, Matt? Hey, they had last year. They had 9 episodes, including the Christmas special, to really wow people and to really sell us on the fact that it was all new Doctor Who. This is the same show that you love, but a new take on it. The fact there was no Daleks there, major mistake, and at least 1 or 2 other returning monsters that were in a recognisable form. The only ones that did return looked nothing like the original incarnation. So again, more missed opportunities. I think that they are keeping their powder far too dry with this stuff when the series is in such bad shape. Lee says, so they've been filming for 2 months and this is the only leaked location pic. There's dozens of them, mate. It's just they're all really boring. As I say, they're all of actors dressed as unit soldiers milling around large industrial complexes. Sorry.
I remember when they first, before the show actually came back and they had those leaked photos of them, of the Daleks. And I remember the relief because I was like, oh, thank God they're not mucking around too much with the Daleks. Okay, Bronze is new. We didn't know that it was going to go on for so long, but it was like, wow, they've kept the majority of it, and they seem to be on the right track. But then you see these sort of things and what they're currently producing, and you just go, oh no, here we go.
Maybe the Sea Devils is not in it. In this one,
haven't they said
they are definitely in it? Yeah, that has been stated. The Sea Devils are in it. Whether they're the catalyst for the story or the story, obviously we don't know.
Well, if that's the case, you can see the reason why people are jumping the shadows and saying, "Oh, is this the new design?" You can see why they're jumping, aren't they?
Completely.
I don't know.
They should contact me because in my head for ages I've had Sea Devils riffing off of the fog. Coming out of the fog, Sea Devils in like a church building or something,
I can see that.
Attacking people. That would be superb. Call me, Bad Wolf.
We've been down this route where they've had other sea creatures as well, because you've had the Atlanteans, and those sort of creatures. So and that underwater menace one, I can't even remember that one, but. That was a Hartnell story, wasn't it? So they could reuse some of the original. Oh no, sorry, it was a. I
understand completely why people are worried about this. We've got Gary from the Big Blue Box in the live chat. Devil's Advocate. It could end up being a core show. Grinning and side-eye face. I refuse to write this off. I think Russell is still capable of delivering something that's fit for purpose and something that matters. And I think Pete McTighe is a really, really good writer. And sooner or later, a mainstream audience in Britain is going to get a chance to really see that. Whereas most of it, in fact, didn't he write was it called The Slap? Something like that? There was a recent drama, a non-sci-fi drama. I'm getting them mixed up. He recently did a family drama for the BBC that did do really, really well, but obviously it wasn't for the sci-fi audience at all. I think it's only a matter of time. Hopefully, I can't write this off. I can't. I think it would be reactionary of me. But on past form, turning Sutek into a fuck off dog, I can't ignore the fact that they did that. So what do you think? We're going to have to move on from this now, but what do you think this is? Let us know in the comments. Could it be the Sea Devils? Is it something else? I think the best advice we could possibly give Ian is simply good luck. Good luck, everybody, for the war between the land and the sea. We get what we get when we get it. Heaven knows when it's coming. We've got a lot of time to speculate in between now and then. So, let us know in the comments section and we'll get back to you.
This is Lord President Rassilon. Due to the interference of that idiot renegade, the Doctor, the universe is collapsing. Unfortunately, the Time Lords have no answer for this, and I am forced to call upon the services of Type 40 Podcast.
It's a wobbly stick he's got there, isn't it? It's like, whoa, wobbly stick.
He was living the dream, that guy, living the dream.
Sure
Building up his part, wasn't he, Simon? You know what, Simon, though? I feel that we need something to celebrate. Don't you?
We've always got something to celebrate in the diary.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. Here we go. We're off with the diary, folks. It's trundled around again. We're going to reel back through the past 60 odd years of Doctor Who and see what was happening this week in years gone by. This one we don't have time to talk about, and we should do, and one of these days we will. 25 years ago, 25 years since Doctor Who Night on BBC Two. Way back in 1999, the 13th of November, 1999. Do you remember? Anybody remember?
I remember.
I remember it really well. I think there is a whole show in that, isn't there?
There is. 25 years ago, Dan. We really should be talking about that one, but we're not, because there's lots of other stuff to talk about. This week in years gone by, 20 episodes were screening this week in years gone by, and I actually think this is a record. I'd have to go back and check, but I think this is a record. 20 episodes is a record. That 20 episodes doesn't include in 1981 we were watching the Crotons in the Five Faces of Doctor Who. I think we could talk about the Five Faces of Doctor Who every single week on this show.
I was going to say, I think we've done it about 6 times.
Well, sure we have. So we're not talking about the Five Faces of Doctor Who tonight. But if you were tuning in this week in 1981, you would have been watching the Crotons. So 1965, you'd have been watching the Daleks' Master Plan kick off. The Ice Warriors were kicking off in 67. You've talked about Sutekh and the Great Dog of Death. Pyramids of Mars, episode 4, with the proper Sutekh as a jackal-headed beast, the Typhonian beast, indeed. Pyramids of Mars episode 4 was screening in 1975. The creature from the creature from the pit. I do apologise. Easy mistake to make. Easy mistake to make. Was finally grinding to a halt in 1979. Thank goodness. This one for you, Charlotte. 2009, Bowie Base 1 was where we were landing in 2009 with the Waters of Mars. Do you remember that one?
Oh, yes. I was trying to think of where. Yes, but that was one of the better specials, to be fair.
Yeah, it was. It was a good one. That was scary, John. That was scary.
It was very good.
So Bowie Base 1 was where we were in 2009. 2018, we landed in India for Demons of the Punjab. Probably less said about that. The better.
Yeah, very ropey.
So we're not talking about any of those. We're talking, it's exactly 60 years ago today that you would have been watching the final episode of Planet of Giants, episode 3, as it was. There are the giant earthworms from in case you're wondering what on earth they were, it's not gold. Yeah, Planet of Giants episode 3 back in 1964. Get this story didn't exist in the archive until 1978. So at that point, back in 1977, for example, you could not see this story. It was returned it was discovered in 1978. So Crisis. episode 3. Louis Marks, as you can see from the Radio Times listing there on the left, Louis Marks wrote this. This was the first of 4 stories for Louis Marks. He went on to do Day of the Daleks, Planet of Evil, and The Mask of Mandragora. Now, the director on this particular story is quite interesting, because as you'll see at the bottom of the screen there, the Radio Times was listing this as being directed by Douglas Camfield. Well, that's true, but it was only partially directed by Douglas Camfield, because it was also partially directed by Mervyn Pinfield, who had started life as an associate producer on the show back on An Unearthly Child way back in 1963. That was when Mervyn Pinfield's association began with the show. And he also directed The Sense Rights and the Space Museum. But he directed part of this particular episode. Why? How come? It's rather confusing, because originally Planet of Giants was going to be a 4-part story. And so Crisis would have been episode 3, and the 4th episode would have been The Urge to Live. Now, episode 3 was directed by Mervyn Pinfield. Episode 4 was directed by Douglas Camfield. Now, what happened here was that Donald Wilson, who was the head of... They made it. It all got made as a 4-part story. It existed as 4 episodes. But Donald Wilson, who was the head of serials at the time, was not desperately blown away by Planet of Giants overall. And he was particularly unimpressed with episode 4, The Urge to Live. And so what happened was he suggested, no, you're going to have to drop episode 4 and you're going to have to combine it with Crisis, episode 3. And that's what happened. The 2 episodes, 3 and 4, got combined, and in effect, episode 4's sort of cliffhanger, almost finale, gets sort of bolted onto episode 3. But Douglas Camfield, who had directed episode 4, was the one who gets the sole credit.
I tell you what,
on this
it's
particular
a pity
episode.
that bloke wasn't around during the Jodie Whittaker era. We'd have only had 15 episodes of that crap rather than nearly 30.
And they'd have bolted them all together, wouldn't they? In one 1-hour special, probably. Now, sadly, Donald Wilson really wanted the Dalek Invasion of Earth to open season 2, which was the second story of season 2. He was that unimpressed with Planet of Giants that he wanted Dalek Invasion to be switched around and to open season 2. But it couldn't, of course, because Dalek Invasion of Earth saw the departure of Susan. So it had to stay as it was. Planet of Giants opened season 2 of Doctor Who. It was just concluding this day back in 64. But yeah, the 2 episodes were combined. And rather beautifully today, only to mark the anniversary almost, Ian Levine, who is doing the incredible CGI reconstructions, has released a CGI recreation of episode 4. He released episode 3 recreation a few days ago, and he's released the episode 4 recreation of The Urge to Live today. And rather wonderfully, he brought back Carol Ann Ford and William Russell many years ago to record the script, because the script existed. As I say, it was made as a 4-parter. The script existed, still exists, and so he brought them back and brought in obviously some people also to do the other parts. Recorded it and has put out a recreation. There is a recreation that is also on the Blu-ray, the season 2 Blu-ray box set. There is a recreation of episodes 3 and 4 as they kind of would have looked, as I say, again using the script.
So we've got a good approximation of what it would have felt like, at least.
Yeah. And there is a fair argument that episode 3 doesn't quite work. It does feel very, very rushed. It feels a bit confusing. It is almost a blink and you'll miss it finale as how it all gets wrapped up.
I've never felt this story. Every time I go back to it to try and give it another day in court, I come away feeling exactly the same way. It's really weird.
Me and Gary Akers just watched it recently, and it's.
What did you make of it, John?
It's a slow drag. It really is. But I have to say, it's the only story in Doctor Who's history where Ian puts his science skills as a teacher to use to basically figure out how they could, one, cause arson, and two, make it explode a poisonous canister so it goes into the face of the villain. So they blind somebody in it.
Yeah. and one of the things that I actually love about it is Jacqueline Hill plays beautifully when she thinks she's been poisoned, doesn't she? But she thinks she's caught some poison from some seeds or something. Is it? I can't remember. It's
That's
while.
right, yeah.
And she plays it beautifully.
She does. The sets are absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
in it.
Daryl Joyce is saying exactly that on screen now.
Yeah,
the sets are fantastic. They are.
And I do think like this is one that I sort of blank on until I see pictures of it.
Yeah.
I go, oh, it's that one.
That one, yeah.
But the thing that I do remember is the performances as well. I think all of them, like you said, Ian is sort of, you see him be a hero, you see him have those clever moments to do with his science. You see the girls sort of show their vulnerability in ways which is quite good. And you sort of have Bill at his best when it comes to him being a bit grumpy.
Yeah, he's quite grumpy.
No, you're right, Charlotte. I don't really remember a time, Charlotte, where the standard from any of those regulars ever really slipped in the first 2 or 3 years of the show. And you're quite right. The more I think
I do think they sort of save this story in a lot of ways.
You would think that the budget on this would be massive with having to create big props. Was a lot of these reused from like a mini series of Toy Thumb or something?
No, incredibly. I think they were all made from scratch. To be honest,
I mean the sink and the plug.
The sink's
hole,
incredible, John.
Yeah, it is. Reminds me of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, like all those years later, 30 odd years later.
I mean, it was only it was actually 2 years before Land of the Giants.
Yeah, it was.
So,
it was.
Land of the Giants, they did about 3 years of that. So,
and the fly is incredible. It's really.
And Gary Akers asks in the live chat, "Do you think that this could have been where Irwin Allen got the idea?" I suppose it's not impossible. We'll probably never know.
But it's also a few years ahead of Star Trek when they had the cat's paw with the big cat in it.
Yeah, you're right.
This did it first. It's got some nice moments in it, and it's the only story I know where someone decides to deliberately murder somebody but do it discreetly outside on the patio.
Yeah, that's part of the problem, John.
And leave the body there for pretty much most of the story so that everybody can see it.
Do you know what, John?
That cheerful soul Domgo says, can we not watch this on Christmas Day rather than any tripe from Bad Wolf? But John Mason says it's good, but thank God it's only 3 parts.
Yeah, John. I think in this particular case, Donald Wilson did have the right idea. What I think is sad about this, when you rewatch it, the stuff with the 4 regulars, our TARDIS team, are just brilliant. Those scenes are great. It's the scenes on the left with the woman, interminably talking on the telephone as the operator. It's that feels just absolutely.
I disagree, Simon. I've put in the chat they should have had their own spin-off as a crime fighting duo, like Heart to Heart,
like a middle-aged Avengers.
Yeah, like going across the world and solving crimes on a speedboat.
Still with her headset on while she's being the operator.
Yeah, she can only solve crimes that she's put through to the correct line.
Can you imagine the kids watching that today and going, "What the hell?
What on earth is going on?" Yeah,
I love that Bert Rouse was played by Fred Ferris. What a brilliant name, Fred Ferris. Sounds like a darts player.
And Hilda Rouse, what a character name, Hilda Rouse. You're onto a loser when you've got a character called Hilda Rouse. But we did get Smithers. Smithers about 40 years before
the Simpsons
pinched Smithers. So anyway, say happy birthday to Planet of Giants. 60 years old today, Planet of Giants. it wasn't just Planet of Giants that was happening this week back in 1964, because there's something else that's exactly 60 years ago this very week, and it is the very, very first novel ever to be published on Doctor Who. There we go, the hardback novelization of Doctor Who in an exciting adventure with the Daleks. The hardback book was that's really, I mean, this is an advert from back in the day. Dan, you've done a good job in finding that. Round of applause to you.
It's not my first barbecue.
No, I tell you what, that's really quite something. That's something I haven't seen. I've never seen that advert before.
Never seen that cover
before. The price was, Matt, 12 shillings and sixpence.
Yeah, I can afford that.
Break open the piggy bank, Ian.
Yeah, break open the piggy bank.
It goes for considerably more than that now on eBay. Ooh. That's for sure. So this is the very, very, very first Doctor Who book ever published, and obviously the show is only a year old at this point. And there we go in that wonderfully lurid pink. I've just realised, this was not intentional. I've just realised I am wearing a jacket in exactly the same colour as the pink of the cover of the. And I'd like to claim that it was deliberate, but it wasn't. It was completely.
I think you're more like Captain Magenta, to be honest.
It's definitely pink. It's definitely pink. Now, what I think is really interesting, about this cover is that in another year's time, Daleks would be everywhere. Daleks literally took over the world in the Christmas of 1965. But look at this. What is front and center on this Doctor Who? And then right at the bottom, almost accidentally, apologetically, in an exciting adventure with the Daleks. And so the Daleks were nowhere. So at this point in the show's history, they absolutely were capitalizing on William Hartnell and Doctor Who rather than the Daleks. The Daleks were nothing at this point in the show until
because of that.
Yeah, but they absolutely, so by this time next year they were everywhere. And of course, in literally next week in 1964 was the very first episode of the Dalek invasion of Earth. And then that was really where the world changed. It was the Dalek invasion of Earth that just really consolidated faction of the Daleks. And that's why by this time next year, the Daleks would be front and center. And it was one of the things that sort of kind of almost miffed William Hartnell. It was the Daleks that everybody wanted. Not
why
Doctor
didn't they
Who.
get a picture of him? Why did they just get a little scribble of the Doctor? I mean,
it's one of the internal illustrations but they do you know what they just I like it now, but it's not going to sell books, is it? Let's be honest.
Absolutely not.
It's a terrible cover.
Yeah,
but I think, to be honest, in those days, I just don't think they thought about this stuff.
No, they didn't.
Marketing wasn't as it is now.
So kids were more into comic books and that sort of thing. Well, they weren't into novels.
I guess. Well, all I can tell you is whether it's an awful cover or not. I tell you what, it's sold in its bucket loads. That you're looking at is the first edition that came out, as I say, today, back in 1964. 20,000 copies of this were printed on first printing. It sold out pretty much immediately. Wow. To the extent where it then had to get reprinted very, very quickly in a matter of weeks. And there is the reprint. That was the reprint in a grey cover, which is even worse than the first cover.
I prefer the first one.
This is no adaptations or anything like that? This is an original novel?
No, this is an adaptation of the very first Dalek story.
Okay.
Well, it must have... You can't help but think for the BBC that they probably hadn't had this sort of need to do a book based on a show, like directly linked to it.
Maybe
before.
not. No.
This idea of we've got a show which is popular, so we need to create books. We need to create other things linked to it.
God, if
and like you said,
this today.
But if you think about it, this was back in the 60s as well, where this idea of having multiple parts to your brand, having multiple things people can buy and consume, also was quite alien. It was watch a TV show, you watch a TV show. Yeah. So even the fact that they thought to do this early on, I think shows whoever was in charge of this aspect actually was quite ahead of their time.
Yeah,
that people were like, no, we need to get this out.
And that's why Charlotte, it sold well, probably because there wasn't anything else out at all at the time for Doctor Who. Nothing at all. Nothing.
Yeah.
How many pages was it? Somebody?
100 and about 150 pages. 157 pages.
Yeah, so that's not a tiny book.
No, it isn't. No, it's a good solid.
It could have been like a little sliver.
No.
That's what. But I do need to go, everybody.
Good night, Charlotte.
See you all next week.
Good night, Charlotte. Lovely to see you.
See you more of the same next time, Charlotte.
And what's interesting about this book is that there have been more editions of this particular book than any other Doctor Who book. There was the reprint, as I say, with a different cover, the different coloured cover, in the same year as the initial one. Then in 1965, this one came out. This was the paperback edition. This came out in 1965. There we go. There's the paperback with a lovely lurid cover on the back. Look at that. Who doesn't want to read that?
One of my very favourite Doctor Who book covers of them all. And I don't like it when they do that, when they abbreviate the Doctor to the DR. Can't stand it. But as a product of its time, I think that is a stunning cover, so evocative.
Yeah, it is. And there's some, there's some great illustrations in here. There we go. Open up immediately, and there's some brilliant illustrations. There we go. This edition of the book actually is unique in that it has its own set of illustrations. The Frederick Muller original, that's the pink version that we're looking at there on screen, that had its own set of illustrations that were then reprinted in the Target reprint. But this version, which was the Armada Books version, this one had its own set of illustrations. There is the version that we know it much better as on the left-hand side now. That's the Target book with the brilliant Chris Achilleos cover. And that came out in 1973. Before that, there had actually been a release of the book in 1967 in the USA, of all places. Believe it or not, that was the only piece of Doctor Who merchandise at the time in America. But 1967 released a version of it. And in 1975... once Tom Baker came along and the show was riding on huge success, White Lion released another hardback version of the Daleks with a Tom Baker cover, bizarrely. And then, of course, in 2011, BBC Books re-released the Target version again with the Chris Achilleos cover that's on the left-hand side there. 2016 saw a hardcover facsimile release of the original Frederick Muller. I think I'm right in saying it was the pink cover that they reprinted.
It was the pink one, yeah, because I nearly bought that.
I wish I bought it. I didn't, and it was a beautiful facsimile. And then, of course, in 2022, just a couple of years ago, BBC Books brought out. There we go. That quite a famous illustrated hardcover in large format. You got that, John?
Yeah, I got that. It's great.
You got it, Matt. Is it nice? I must be honest, I haven't got this one yet.
Simon, this is beautiful. My kids, my children bought this for me for Christmas that year. It was the first time they'd ever sort of done that for me, like got me a present, which I had no idea what it was or anything like that. I couldn't believe my eyes when I opened it. It's a beautiful book and a really lovely present. I'll always treasure this.
Yeah, with illustrations, as we can see there by Robert. And I'm right, aren't I? It's illustrated lavishly throughout.
They might have to scrub off introduction by Neil Gaiman going forward as well. Though I'd have to say.
Oh dear, Simon. Richard in the live chat asks, was this the first ever merchandise?
Yes, Richard, as far as I know, yes, it was. There was nothing else released before. As far as I know, maybe there might have been the odd pin badge or something, but I don't think so. And somebody will correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. But I'm confident in saying that, yeah, this was the original. There we go, Rob Alexander. You got the Tom Baker cover out of the local library in 1975. Yeah, it is out there. It's very, very rare. And all I will say, I mean, last week I was sort of extolling the merits of the Mythmakers novelization, but this, if you never read any other Doctor Who book, if there's only one Doctor Who book you ever read, this should be the one. Trust me. This is just so much fun to read. It is the best Doctor Who book, in my opinion. It starts cold, so it assumes that we're never going to have a novelization of an unearthly child, which was the first story. This, of course,
threw me when I was a kid.
Yeah, this is a novelization of the second story, and so assuming that they were not going to novelize an unearthly child, they start cold with a meeting on the Common. And it's just a brilliant chapter that takes place on Barnes Common. And it's an entirely new creation of how the TARDIS team come together. And then it sort of abbreviates all 7 episodes of the first Dalek serial, to answer your question, Matt, into 160 pages. It's got a glass Dalek at the end, which is something that the original production team had wanted to do and couldn't. So we get the glass Dalek in the in this novelization, and this edition, the 1965 one. I'm just going to hold that up to the screen, see if you can see that. The 1965 edition. There is the glass Dalek at the very end of the story. There is the glass Dalek with the evil mutant Khaled inside it.
Is he waving?
No, he's definitely. Well, he's probably waving a fist, Matt. He's waving a fist
on the loo, isn't
like he? Yeah, he's like, hello.
But it's just a magnificent book. So trust me, if you never ever read any other Doctor Who book, do yourself a favour, get Doctor Who and the Daleks. It's easily available on eBay. You will pick up a cheap copy of the original version, or you can get it very easily from Amazon as the reprint. And it's just
the beauty of it is, whatever kind of reader you are, if you're the kind of person who reads a Kindle, reads electronically the editions of this, if you love crusty, crinkly old paperbacks, you can pick it up pretty much anywhere. It's still lots of copies kicking around. Yeah. If you'd like a more lavish book, if you've read it before, or you really want to treat yourself, there's this big hardback illustrated one. So there's a lot. Whatever kind of person you are, whatever your reading experience is, however tactile it is, whether you're a commuter or not, there's an option for you to enjoy this story. I think that's obviously you probably can't expect that for every single story of the 150 classic ones, but it's nice that of all the ones that there is that for, that this is it.
I think if you say you're a Doctor Who fan, you have to. This is a must own. Like this. If you don't have this, then you're not a Doctor Who fan. It's that simple.
Yeah,
we've got a question. We've got a question in the live chat here, which I just want to come to. Neil Perriman asks: an orchestral version of the theme tune by Eric Winston was released in January 1964. So Neil is speculating that could be the first piece of merchandise. I think it depends whether it's official or not. If it's one of those sort of if it's a music for pleasure cover version, then it won't count as merchandise because it won't be licensed.
I'm guessing that is probably the case. We would class it as merchandise, and you're quite right, Neil. If that is absolutely, I stand corrected and take my hat off to you. I think Dan's probably also right, though. I'm guessing it was an unofficial release, whereas the novelization was probably what we would class as the first official release.
I've got a question from Philip Roy as well. Doctor Who in the live chat says, "Hi guys, has the everlasting match ever been immortalised on screen?"
No, and it's funny you say that because the everlasting match is what comes in on the first chapter of a meeting on the Common, and I just remember this so clearly. I read this book when I was very, very young. And I'll just read out this tiny little passage from this book by David Whittaker. "The dim outline of a man became clearer. He was wearing a cloak, and under the fur of his hat I could see his silver hair surprisingly long on the back of his neck, touching the collar. He suddenly stopped so near that I could have taken 3 steps and stood next to him. All my concentration was directed towards the match he was holding. The strength of its light never altered, and the quality of it was far whiter than any match I'd ever seen before." And I just remember this everlasting match, and it's stuck with me since I was a kid, and it's obviously stuck with other people as well. Philip Roy being one of them. It's one of the creations that David Whittaker comes up. David Whittaker, of course, was the original script editor, or story editor as they were called at the time, on Doctor Who. So that's why he went off and wrote this novelization of a Terry Nation script, and it's magnificent. Trust me. just read, and it's perfect for this time of year because this is when it takes place. It takes place in the autumn winter.
Yeah.
So it's just a perfect. So happy 60th birthday to this novel, which of course kicked off the entire book sensation that then in 1973, got completely reinvigorated by Target Books with a reprinting of that very, very first Frederick Muller book, and the rest is history, as they say.
Oh, we have set the cat among the pigeons here in the live chat on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X. Various points of other merchandise that could have been first, other themes, singles, or Super Pops cereal tie-ins. I think that could be a subject we'll have to come back to.
I'm going to find out for you. I promise that by the time of the next time I'm on the show, I will find out for you what is the very first item of merchandise, and was it that? I'll let you know.
That's one of those facts that most Doctor Who fans at some point have known, and then we forget over the years.
Yeah. I'll find out for you, and I'll report back on that one. So anyway, moving on, and we move very, very far in the future now to 2013. So 11 years ago. Now, this is one of your favourite things, I know, Dan. It's not one of Mega Geek's favourite. This is the Night of the Doctor.
Because wouldn't this be one of your favourite things? This is wonderful. Go on, sorry.
This is it's exactly 11 years since the week of the Night of the Doctor, because in many ways it was the week, because
it was very weak.
It was a week. It was truly a week. 17 years since Paul McGann's last appearance. 17 years.
I know.
Since Paul McGann's last appearance as the Doctor on television, at least on screen, and finally in 2013, we got this today, exactly 11 years ago today. This was rush released, in fact, on iPlayer without any sort of ceremony whatsoever. It just suddenly appeared. It sort of literally, almost limped its way onto the internet that this had been released. People were blindsided by this. Do anybody remember this?
I came
Absolutely.
home for lunch. I came home for
remember.
lunch. I put iPlayer on. It popped up and it goes, no, what's this?
What's this?
I played it, and it was like, oh, and then suddenly when he goes, I'm a doctor, but probably not the one that you were expecting. And I have to say, that was the last time I have fist pumped into the air.
Did you break anything?
Well, I think that's what put my shoulder out last week. Delayed reaction.
It was nice to see him, though, wasn't it? It was really nice.
Say again, sorry.
It was nice to see Paul again, wasn't it?
It was wonderful to see Paul McGann again. Yeah. His costume that you just saw on screen there, that Paul McGann says that it's his favourite costume. It was designed by Howard Burden, and he says it was the favourite costume of the various ones that he's had. Because although he hasn't appeared on screen, he has appeared many times on screen. He has appeared at various times in different outfits, and that apparently reportedly is his favourite. And he does wear it very well. And there we go. See, that was that was a big finish one on the right hand side, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, the satchel and
dark. Was that the Dark Eyes period?
Yeah, that's right.
As I recall, and obviously on the left hand side, that is his original from the McGann movie. But yeah, this one in the middle, this is it's kind of his War Doctor in many ways. And he did, I don't know whether you realise this, but he did play the War Doctor. He played the post-regeneration of his own self, if you see what I mean. He played both Doctors in this particular piece. They didn't get anybody else in to play the regenerated Doctor. So he is one of only two Doctors to play two Doctors, if you see what I mean. The other one, of course, being Sylvester McCoy, who plays the 6th and the 7th Doctor pre-regeneration in Time in the Rani, and Paul McGann plays both his own 8th Doctor and then the War Doctor in this episode. But of course, you don't see the War Doctor. I think you just see a hand passing over Something, don't you, as I recall?
You see a younger version of a reflection of the younger version of John Hurt.
In that
John Hurt,
goblet
yeah,
the Sisterhood of Khan give him full of the the flame.
Yeah, that's right. That's
elixir.
right.
Yeah,
elixir. That was the word I was looking for.
Elixir of life. The elixir of life, passed on, of course, by a healer. This always frustrated me, why they had a healer rather than bring back Jilly Brown as a Heka from the Brain of Morbius. I still don't know why they didn't do that. Why they didn't just.
It was rushed. That's why.
Yeah.
Say again, Ian.
Because it was rushed. That's why.
Maybe. I interestingly, I was at Hooverville a few years ago, and Jilly Brown, who played a Heka, was there on stage, being interviewed on stage. And I'm afraid I was a bit cheeky, and I did actually ask her on. I put my hand up and asked the question, which was, were you contacted? Did they ask you back? And she said no. And I'd have loved to be asked back. I'd have come back at a shot. I'd have been there. What were they thinking? What were they thinking?
They filmed this. It was screened in November, as you say, like 11 years ago. But they actually filmed it around the March or the April. And just after it was filmed, like we're talking within a week of it being filmed, somebody went onto Gallifrey Base and said, "I've just been on set filmed with Paul McGann on this special thing for the anniversary,"
really?
And no one believed them.
Really?
Nobody believed this guy. He got shot down. He really did get lambasted.
Wow.
I haven't really been on Gallifrey Base much since then, so it must have been one of the last times I was ever on. He got torn off really, really bad. Oh, yeah, it was all a close set. It was this, it was that, it was the other. And, nobody was giving him a single day in court with that. So it was filmed quite a while before, but as I understand it, so it wasn't rushed as such, but Moffat didn't think that McGann would be interested in reprising the role for the anniversary. He'd imagined that McGann would be too busy, that such a thing as an anniversary was something that he did years and years ago he wouldn't really care about. So there was a number of reasons why. So yes, it didn't spend months in development. You're quite right. And yes, I think it does show. It is a cheap and cheerful thing, but it wasn't sort of thrown together in an afternoon over a boozy lunch. It was, so they put some thought into it. I think there's a certain amount of care.
Yeah, they did, and it does show. I think it's a classic.
For all the things that it could have been, Paul McGann's comeback after so many years, it could have been a way, way worse. If you've seen if you've seen the other minisode for the anniversary, which is a lot thinner than this.
Yeah.
You can see, you see the difference.
You can't tell me that he approached had no problem approaching Christopher Eccleston, who was also quite popular and busy, and yet couldn't be bothered with Paul McGann because
there was an appetite. To be fair, I don't think it's a question of being bothered. There was an appetite for Christopher Eccleston to come back. People who didn't know that there was bad blood, or certainly the Eccleston was unhappy, kind of had expected him to be there. The papers were talking about that, whereas the papers, to be fair, they weren't talking about McGann. It was the dim and distant past, and not to us, but to the general public. It was.
I mean, this, what was it, 9 minutes long, something like that?
Yeah, about 8.
And for me, it was like, I mean, personally, I class McGann as being in my top 3 Doctors, because I love McGann and I love how he's played it in Big Finish, and just seeing him on screen, he has the presence in those 9 minutes that
he does.
So gutted we didn't get more from him, on screen, because I'm not counting the one where Jodie Whittaker, that didn't happen, but this is just fantastic, and he just owns that place, doesn't he?
Yeah, and I agree with what Philip Roy was just saying on screen there, that imagine if this had been the prequel to The Day of the Doctor, and
I agree completely.
Been in, much as we love John Hurt, if McGann, if this had been the prequel, wow, it would have been far more special.
I think we touched on this when we did a complete review of this episode a couple of years ago on the live stream. But since then, Stephen Moffat has published his novel of The Day of the Doctor and does incorporate Night of the Doctor in as a kind of prologue.
Yes, he does. Yeah. So there we go. Right. But what was funny about this, of course, was, as I say, it was released today on 14th of November on iPlayer, and it was done very much with that ceremony. And the reason for that was because the BBC got wind that it was about to be leaked, and so rather than allow it to be leaked, they literally did rush it out. It was not due to be released on this day at all. There was a few more days still to go. I don't know what the exact date was that it would have been released, but it certainly wasn't the 14th of November. But they rushed it out literally that afternoon. They got wind in the morning that it was about to be leaked, and they rushed it out. But, you know, in many ways, I think it was rather sweet because it was a wonderful birthday present to the great Paul McGann, because the 14th of November today just happens to be Paul McGann's birthday. And so what a brilliant, brilliant birthday present for Paul McGann on his birthday to get the Night of the Doctor. So, yeah, we absolutely wish Paul McGann a very, very happy 65th birthday. And looking at him on the left-hand side, doesn't he still look every inch the Doctor?
That's this year. That was only about 8 weeks ago.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
Bastard.
He could still play the Doctor. Come on.
Oh, 100%.
He still does.
100%. A little bit of background about Paul. He was born in Surrey in 1959, but he moved to Liverpool as a child, of course, along with his other brothers, Mark, Joe, and Stephen, his other acting brothers, who were... it's incredible, isn't it, when you think about how much success the McGann family has had. All of them. Massive. You know, you sometimes you see nepotism, but this is not nepotism. This is just a classy family. No, they're all good.
They are the male Nolan sisters. They are.
Dan, I'll never be able to look at Paul McGann in the same way again. His first acting credit was way back in 1982 on Play for Today. And his first major role came with The Monocled Mutineer on the BBC in 1986. And that, as a result of that was pretty much what got him spotted. And that was how he ended up playing the role of I in With Nail and I the following year in 1987. Anybody watch With Nail and I? What do you think of it, Ian? Come on, be honest.
It's all right.
That's my take on it.
Yeah,
I'm not blown away by With Nail. I know people absolutely love With Nail, and
it's desperately overrated. It's one of those films like the Rocky Horror Picture Show. If you see it when you're about 18, 19 at college and loaded 17 hours of the day, then I can see why people like it. But yeah, it doesn't do anything for me, really.
I saw the first film that Peter Bacaldi, if I pronounce his name wrong.
Yeah.
Sorry. The first one he saw as well, and I didn't think much of that film either. It's really
what was that?
I can't remember.
It was some Worm and the Lair Worm.
Lair of the White Worm.
No, it's not that one.
You mean Local Hero?
Not Local Hero. It's one before that. It was kind of like a low budget film, and he was kind of the main guy in it. It was like a road movie.
Oh, but I guess they've all got to start somewhere, and you know, that's it. And With Nail and I say still absolutely huge. It's still a cult classic. Following on from With Nail and I, Paul McGann was offered the lead role in Sharp. Do you remember this? That went to.
I have to say, we've been hit with a wall of With Nail and I fans in the live chat. Yeah. Thank you,
sorry,
everybody.
Neil. You love it.
Neil, Richard, and with several more as well.
It's one of those films that everybody quotes. I mean, I'm waiting for all the quotes to just start appearing in the... well, there we are. We went on holiday by mistake. That says problem being... Yeah, they've started already. The quotes have... Because it is an eminently quotable movie, whether you like it or not. It's
in
just
all fairness,
one of those movies.
I've only ever seen it once, and I'm going back... And it was years after it was made. I watched it simply because Paul McGann was in it, Ian. And to be fair, I thought McGann was okay in it. He's very charismatic, and I thought Richard E. Grant was fantastic in it.
Yes,
but it just didn't. I just didn't get it.
Me neither.
Whatever people find so funny about it, it kind of just passed me by. Didn't connect.
Yeah,
So maybe it's quite possible I was in a funny one that night. So it is something I should go back to, but it just amuses me. It just amuses me. It just amuses me the fact. It just amuses me the fact that I had such a sort of, oh God, no. I carried on watching it, but it made no lasting impression on me at all.
Did that film come out at the same time as My Beautiful Laundrette?
Round about the same time. It was 87.
Yeah, because that's another film.
That's a far better film.
I didn't think much of that either.
Like,
it was all right. Yeah. Sorry,
I always get that mixed up with Train Spotting for some reason.
And my favourite of them all, of that sort of crop of British movies, was Wish You Were Here with Emily Lloyd.
I like that
for obvious reasons.
Forgotten, but that's forgotten now, isn't it? It's absolutely
it's a huge film at the time.
Yeah, it was.
But you're right, Dan. That Paul McGann is brilliant in Withnail and I. He's just cool. He just is so cool. He exudes movie star cool, which is to say is why you can understand why he was then offered the role of Sharp. Did you know that he actually started shooting Sharp? He accepted the role. And he started shooting Sharp, and he got injured while playing football halfway through filming episode 1. This is proof that physical exercise is not good for you, folks. Simon says don't do physical exercise because he got injured playing football and literally lost the role of Sharp. And this actually triggered the largest insurance settlement in British television history.
Bloody hell!
Yeah, over £2 million insurance settlement was triggered because, of course, they'd started shooting, and so they had to pause everything while they went and found a replacement. So £2 million was over £2 million was the cost of basically replacing this guy with Sean Bean, and he lost the part, and that was it. I mean, he must still be gutted, I'm guessing.
Anytime he can die.
If we get him on the show at any point, we are asking how does he feel about losing the part. But he got the part of the Doctor. Interestingly, Tim Curry, who has often been mooted for the part of the Doctor, was actually offered the part of the 8th Doctor before Paul McGann.
Was he?
Yeah, and
Curry.
Apparently he had.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I think Tim Curry was shooting with Paul McGann at the time, and so he asked Paul McGann. Get this: Tim Curry asked Paul McGann, "I've been offered the role of Doctor Who. If you were to be offered the role, how would you play it?" Because Tim Curry was weighing up, trying to decide whether to take the role or not. So he actually asked Paul McGann, what should I do with this? Exactly, Paul. If you got offered this role, what would you do with it? And Tim Curry, of course, turns the part down. And hey presto, by timey-wimey brilliant coincidence, who is the replacement? Paul McGann, who's just been asked by Tim Curry how he would play the part. It's crackers.
Wow.
Is that why he delayed accepting it then? Because he did delay for a while, didn't he?
He did delay for a while. I wonder how comfortable he still is with the role. Apparently he admits that sometimes he leaves Doctor Who off his CV. Can you believe it? I know, but apparently he does admit that he sometimes leaves Doctor Who off his CV.
He was basically going towards the film star element, was it? Because he did loads of films. He did one with the lift. I can't remember what that one was called.
That
one wasn't it?
Good movie, that.
Downtime.
Three Musketeers. He was in.
Yeah, so he was heading towards the movie end. To be offered the TV thing in those days was kind of considered going backwards. So that's why he was umming and ahhing about it. That's what I think.
Well, let's not forget he'd done Alien 3. It wasn't that long before.
Yes, absolutely.
He'd done Empire of the Sun. Believe it or not, he's got 143 IMDb credits. He's a busy boy.
I remember when he got announced as a Doctor just before shooting it. I think it was called the Monocled something.
The Monocled Mutineer, yeah.
Yeah, and he was promoting that, and he got it was around that time he gotten into some trouble with he'd been caught in a bit of a love triangle with
I think it's a brothel or something like that for a moment.
No.
I don't remember reading that.
No. It was the lady from Britain's Got Talent, the blonde one.
Okay, don't remember.
Yeah,
Amanda
she's
Holden.
the one- yeah, that's her. Yeah. So there'd been some affair, and that's how I got to. So it was like, oh, okay. So they were.
So he's going to be Doctor Who.
This is the guy who's the new Doctor Who, and also he's been been a naughty boy.
Yeah.
So
He always said, and this is a direct quote, "I don't want to be remembered as the George Lazenby of Doctor Who." And I think it's fair that he hasn't actually been remembered. But he's done far better than George Lazenby ever did with James Bond. He's done over 100 Big Finish audios. Over 100. That's just.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
still, though, come on.
As soon as he turned up in Storm Warning on Big Finish, it was great.
That was that his first one, I think, John, wasn't it?
First one, yeah.
He's
incredible.
He is the George Lazenby of Doctor Who. He is. There's no going around that, because he did the TV version of Doctor Who once. He only did it once.
Yeah,
Big Finish, right?
Oh no, Ian! Hey, Ian! No! He's done it.
Say yes. Stop there.
He has done it.
Yeah,
he has done it twice now.
Oh, three times. This one as well.
And he's also in the Five-ish Doctors. Let's not forget, he's very memorable in the Five-ish Doctors.
Yeah.
I genuinely I argue against that he's the George Lazenby Doctor Who, simply because
I do too.
He's just firstly, George Lazenby, bless him, he's never definitely fondly remembered as James Bond, whereas Paul McGann is very, very fondly remembered. Is there anybody out there? Do you ever hear a bad word said about Paul McGann, as in, I didn't like his Doctor? Is there anybody that said I didn't like his Doctor?
When the movie came out, all my friends hated it. They thought this is in Doctor Who, and I was like, shut up! I love this film.
People I know didn't like it, but they liked him
a lot of people
as the Doctor.
Like it.
I loved it. I
loved it too.
But
yeah, me too.
I couldn't wait for the sequel. No.
Yeah, I love him and I love it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it at all.
Mark Milford says he's 65 and still working.
Yeah.
Wow. And there's lots of fans of George Lazenby as James Bond and on Her Majesty's Secret Service, a favourite film of plenty of people.
Right.
One of the best films.
Including mine. It's a stunning film. And I think Lazenby's pretty bloody good in it, to be honest myself.
Yeah, he's just a grumpy old man, that's all. But he's allowed to be.
It is one of the best Bond movies. There's no two ways about it.
Neil reminds us that in Russell T Davies' Queer as Folk Vince, the Doctor Who fan says at one point, Paul McGann doesn't count. Yes. Which always makes me laugh.
I remember that totally when they said it, and I was like, oh, okay, so Russell T doesn't consider this, and then he does. So there you go. But
I think he's probably just being cheeky. I think his tongue was probably very
well, because you think in RTD's era, when you had you had the Human Nature.
Yeah,
he did have the sketchbook in there as well, where he sketched McGann in there, the Eighth Doctor. So he kind of put it in there. So,
and what I think we are particularly lucky with Paul McGann is that he could have been somewhat grumpy over the fact that he only ever got one night, and then
I would have been.
Series was dropped. He could have sort of turned his back on it and sort of said, not even necessarily in a grumpy way, but just sort of said, look, folks, to be honest, no, I just feel a little bit let down by the whole thing. So no, I'd rather not talk about Doctor Who. But he doesn't. He 100% embraces, even though he's not a science fiction fan. He doesn't like Doctor Who. He doesn't like sci-fi even. But he still absolutely embraces this in a way that nobody could blame him if he just sort of said, look, I'd rather just slip quietly away. Thank you very much. But he doesn't. And I think we're very lucky in that respect with Paul McGann. Hey, do you remember, Dan, when we were in a sort of our pinch it moment sort of thing, where we were standing in the green room at Hooverville a couple of years ago, and he was literally just sitting there, and you and I really wanted to just go up and say something to him, but we did.
Well, he was at the time. When I was there, because I was sat next to. I was actually talking to his son. His son's a lovely guy.
Was a lovely chap.
Just a really nice guy to talk to. And I had a natter, whilst Paul was eating a pasty or something like that. Oh no, he was eating one of those burritos that I was eating. And so I acknowledged he was there, but...
we nodded, but you're not going to...
No, it's not that. It's not that kind of scenario. He's not Paul McGann in that moment, and he's certainly not Doctor Who. He's a bloke who's having a burrito. It's it's a guy on his lunch break.
but you know what I noticed, Dan? I don't know whether you noticed. He is one of those people that his charisma is like an aura around him. He's one of those people that can walk into a room and everybody's attention goes to him automatically. He's just got a magnetic personality somehow, and he's not a tall man. I'm small. He's about the same height as me. He's about 5'7", 5'8", something like that.
Yeah, he's not. But
he's got a magnetic personality.
I'm taller than Paul is, which that surprised me.
He bear hugged me at Comic-Con. Yeah, he did, like manly. Like
he bear hugged you.
Butch bear hug, yeah,
Well, he has become that kind of guy. This is a man who, when he was first cast in the role, said, "Oh, I can't imagine going to a convention; it would freak me out." And after he played it, understandably, he just went and gone on with the next role. I won't say we didn't see him for dust, but it wasn't far off that.
Actually,
now, not only does he do conventions, but I'm not surprised at all that he bear hugs you, John. I've seen him high-fiving people. I've seen him he has lunch with people when he's got the time. He certainly was really lovely to all of us, especially to Sarah and Shah when they were cracking jokes to them and things like that. They kind of cornered the guy. Yeah, and I think Shah literally bumped into him at one point. He was cool about that. Because when that girl's running around, she goes at a rate of knots. I wouldn't like to get in between Shah and Last Orders, for example. No way.
I actually met him on a pilot. That was after he did Doctor Who. I think it was like 2 years after he did Doctor Who. The pilot didn't get picked up, but I was working on the set as an assistant I can't remember, assistant to the producer or whatever. And the producer said to us, "Don't mention Doctor Who."
No,
we saw about it.
Yeah.
So none of us said anything to him about Doctor Who. He was a very nice guy. All I remember is him being under the bed. So there was a shot where we had a bed and he was under the bed with a kid. It's meant to be a kid's show. And the character's very reminiscent of the Doctor. I think it was for ITV. But I said hello to him a couple of times, but that was about it, really. I really wanted to talk to him about Doctor Who.
Was this just after Doctor Who then?
Yeah, it was like a 2 year, or was it a year later after the film?
And this is where I think he probably was a little bit sore about Doctor Who at that point. And that's why I'm saying he could easily have stayed sore and just politely turned his back on it. And he hasn't. And so, as I say, we're grateful to him for that. So, happy 65th birthday to Paul McGann today. Yeah, and
there is no way he'll be sore when he sees the birthday party that we've thrown for him in the last half an hour or so. Simon, it's been awesome. A terrific edition of the Doctor Who Diary as well. Thank you so much for putting all that together.
Welcome.
One of my favourite
ever. Post your comments, your birthday greetings for Paul McGann. He is a subscriber. The girls made him subscribe. He is a subscriber, so he may see your comments and your best wishes. Who knows? So leave them there in the comment section. By all means, please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Check you're still subscribed and ding the cloister bell.
And we're shouting out to Paul McGann. One of these days, Paul, we are getting you on the show. You are welcome here anytime. We want you on the show.
Yeah, we are.
It's got to happen. It's got to happen. Thanks again for the diary, Simon. An absolute belter. And there's a bit of wisdom there from Paul McGann, and storm warning that original 8th Doctor story from Big Finish all the way back in 2002. And how could I not play this?
It's your podcast.
Just want video evidence.
Play this podcast.
What app have you got?
I don't know. We didn't. Oh, I know.
This is the best conversation I've ever been involved in.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to send that to myself.
Yes.
Right? So I know it's you.
We'll see us all on there.
Okay.
You might change your mind when you see them. Don't say that, Sarah.
He's a handsome
that,
devil,
Sarah.
isn't he? He's a handsome devil.
I can't believe you lot and the people in the chat keep saying he's quite short. Well, he was really tall for me, so that shows how short I am. Then, didn't
Bless you. You're a hobbit, John. You know you're a hobbit.
Hairy
I like how Sarah warned him off the show. Yes, we have got time for one more thing, everybody. It's this is where we round off the show with a last look at the view screen, our regular eye into the temporal schism in search of the prettiest of pictures from out there in the Whoniverse. The idea is that we fill up the TARDIS walls. Look how blank and grey this is. We want fan art to fill up these walls. And when I say fan art, I mean digital art, I mean traditional art, cosplay or crafting. That counts too. All gets a place here on the TARDIS. Big old console room, lots of walls, lots of fan art, please, required. And yeah, let's have a look at the first piece. And yeah, since Shootagatwa has been a topic of conversation again this evening, I thought it might be nice to look at this piece from Who Photography. Now, Who Photography, I definitely class this as art, but this account over on X and Instagram doesn't use paints or even a Mac. He uses action figures to create beautiful, timeless moments, such as this one from Space Babies. This is the bit that we didn't see, where the Doctor and Ruby stop to feed the brontosauruses. Brontosauri. Is it brontosauri? Is that correct?
I really don't know, Dan. You're on your own with this one.
I'd love to know. But I really like this. I do love all these accounts that do this, that pose action figures in a really creative way. I mean, some of them are so almost lifelike. When you're scrolling, you have to stop and think, oh, I've never seen that picture before. And then you go, oh.
That's really clever, that is. Are the brontosauruses, are they kind of models as well, or are they CGI?
They are models. I think they could be from a Primeval action set or from a Jurassic Park set or something like that.
Wow, it's just fantastic, isn't it? That's so
Richard
fun.
Brooks thinks so as well, watching on YouTube. He says that's really good. It's got a nice from Ezra Goldstein as well. Brachio's says Sentai Ranger Donnie. There we are, Brachio's. I'll take that. I thought Brachio's were those things you buy. Oh, those are nachos. So, just say dinosaurs, says Neil. Yeah, I will next time.
Told you.
That's really good. Shame about the subject matter, says Lee. There must be other Space Babies fans out there other than me.
No, you're alone, Dan. You are alone.
Never seen it, can't comment.
And yeah, the people are debating, is it a brontosauri or brontosauruses in the live chat? You can carry that on in the comments section as well. Back to safer waters now, I feel, with a piece from one of our favourite artists, Connor Adkins. Now, he's the guy who created the massive mural with a huge pane of which was made up by tributes to each Doctor. Last year, you know, we met Connor at Hooverville twice now. He's been on the show. A terrific guy. Well, he's taking some time in between projects. You know, he's not doing anything massive at the moment, but he is keeping his hand in. And when I saw this tribute, this piece celebrating the robots of Death, Simon, I figured I had to show it to you. Check it out.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Is that what medium is that done with?
Pencil crayons.
I was just going to say, it looks like pencil crayon. That's
really beautifully done.
Incredible.
I love the bit the bit at the bottom, the circle and the robots.
Yeah,
it's really nice.
Me too.
It's beautiful. I love the fact that you've got the you've got the little the communication device at the bottom there at SV7's feet. Gosh, it's just fantastic that. Oh, look! You've got
SV7 above him, look.
And you've got the lasers and probe directly above SV7.
Yeah.
It's a very nice piece. I mean, Connor's sense of graphical elements is really strong, and using the corpse marker, as you said, John, to frame Taron Capel there at the centre is really nice.
I hadn't spotted the corpse marker, and look at the way he has integrated the pattern on the corpse marker into the pattern on Taron Capel's jacket. Yeah. It literally follows through. It's magnificent, that is.
It looks like he's cut out the stuff that he's drawn. it looks like it's cut out and stuck down.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is.
I've seen Connor's work in various states. He does plot it all out. He does plan it all out meticulously, and sort of gradually brings it to life. He works. He creates a sort of framework to build from, and you can see the works in progress over on our Type 40 Extra chat with Connor Adkins on the show last year. That's in the playlists here on the Type 40 channel on YouTube and on Rumble. You can check that out, and I think Connor's going to come back on at some point soon as well.
The only
fantastic Doctor Who artwork, says Ezra Goldstein, and Stephen Braddock says that words fail me. It's absolutely beautiful, Ian.
The only thing I think is wrong with it is that Tom Baker should have been in the middle, and the guy in the middle should have been on the
You
right.
see, that's where I would disagree. I love having Taron Capel.
Oh, really?
There, yeah, I do. I like that.
I think Connor may have decided not to do that because of doing those dedicated Doctors pieces last year, where the Doctors were kind of in the dead centre with everything around them.
Well,
I think he's
rightly
deliberately.
so. It's the Doctor, isn't it?
But I guess this is obviously a sort of a
tribute
piece
to the
about, tribute to the
isn't
robots
it?
of death,
Yeah.
rather than
Robots themselves.
Yeah.
I like the fact that we've got Tom and Louise flanking him either side.
Yeah.
I'd love this as like the old days, the VHS covers with a reversible sleeve.
Yes.
Having that with it as well. Fantastic. Yeah.
Nicely done, says Daryl Joyce in the live chat. Mosh says that is class, and Lee says it's very clever. I think it's clever as well.
It is clever. I was going to say it's almost mesmeric, isn't it? It's all particularly the bottom half of it with the robots mirror imaging.
Yeah, it's nice.
I don't think Connor would mind me saying that he's constantly improving as an artist.
Yeah,
Rob Alexander says it's wonderful stuff. D84 is the best nearly companion ever. And this one reminds David Mullen of a Pete Warbank piece, another friend of the show, Pete Warbank.
Yes, so yeah, has got a little bit of a look.
Refuses to bloody come on, Pete, but he's a friend of the show.
One day.
I really think this episode or these stories was truly one of the best.
Yeah, I agree.
Doctor was actually kicked out. Yeah,
I agree. Summit Cam was chatting in the chat earlier on this evening, saying about I think getting his girlfriend into watching Doctor Who for the first time ever.
Yeah.
And where should they start? And I said, The Robots of Death.
Yes,
it's one of the best to start with. It's one of the best introduction stories to Doctor Who.
It is.
I do feel that, and this is just a beautiful piece of artwork. This should be a book cover or a video cover, absolutely.
Terrific. Excellent work, Connor, as always. You can go and find Connor over on X. You can see his artwork there. I think he's got an Instagram account as well. Next up, it's this one. This story is not quite as fondly remembered, but I really like it. And Phil Shaw's realization of the Hyperion 3 from Terror of the Vervoid stopped me dead in my tracks when I was scrolling through X. This was a couple of weeks ago now. I love it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing personally, but it's really funny because the way they used to design ships in those days was very unique and very organic. But then because Star Wars came out, everybody started taking that kind of look at spaceships, didn't they? But this is really cool.
Yeah, it is.
Really
it was, as I recall, it was based on was it based on a steam train or a liner, the QE2 or something like that? That was the original design. Was sort of influenced by. But this is beautiful. What I like about this is when they did the CGI. The new CGI effects on Terror of the Vervoids when they released season 23 on box set. I was really disappointed with it because it just basically looked like a CGI version of the model. So it was interchangeable. It didn't look any better.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah,
than the model. Whereas this is a complete reinvention, and this is what I would have liked to see on the CGI on the box set.
It's just nicely tailored. It's nicely tailored to the original design.
Yes,
with a little bit more detail, and it matches as well the interiors, which have got that kind of Art Deco look to them.
Yeah, it's pimped up. It's a pimped up version of the Hyperion.
My favourite touch is underneath the midsection there, where you can see various shuttles all around the Hyperion 3. But if you look, there's a docking bay there, a circular docking bay, and a shuttle is just departing.
It's very Chris Foss. If anybody knows the artist Chris Foss, it's very, very Chris Foss.
You know, you've mentioned Chris Foss before, and I meant to look it up, and I don't think I have.
Yeah, look up Chris Foss. He worked on Alien in pre-production on Alien.
Oh, I must have done that. Yeah. Okay.
And he also worked on designing Jodorowsky's Dune, which a film that never ever came about. Chris Foss's work. He did a lot of the Isaac Asimov book covers.
They're great. They're absolutely great, those covers.
This is a good hit rate. A good hit rate on this edition of the show. Look, we've got lots of clapping hands from Nicholas Horton. John Mason likes that too. Crimpling Doubloon thinks it's wonderful. And Cheryl says, oh, yes, that's fantastic. Really nice, says the Peter Venkman fan site. And Mark Milford says, I truly love that. This has gone down. I thought this was a bit of a wild card. I didn't know if other people would like this as much as I did. That's beautiful. Adds Lee. What do you think, John? Do you like Terror of the Vervoids? Does this make you want to rewatch that?
I really like Terror of the Vervoids.
So do I.
It's one I love. And this looks great. And I hate coming on here because I'm meant to be going to work tomorrow, but I'm clearly going to stay up late watching the TV movie and watching Terror of the Vervoids and probably Robots of Death.
The Plants of Giants.
Sleep at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, I'll be on stimulants tomorrow just to keep myself going. Yeah.
Mosh says, I like that. It reminds me of the Airfix illustrations on the boxes in the 50s and the 60s. I wonder if that's what Phil was kind of going for, but because Mosh is right.
Yeah, you suddenly want the model of that, actually, don't you? You want the model kit of that in Airfix.
Yeah.
Would be a fantastic model kit, that would. It's just beautiful. That's what we want to see in Terror of the Vervoids. As I say, that's where I think it was a bit of a wasted opportunity with the CGI. They should have got Phil Shaw in to design the CGI sequences and when they redid them for Vervoids.
They should just build a model, shouldn't they? And just do green screen. It's far more easy doing that now than it was when they were making Star Wars. So they should just do that. Yeah.
Just beautiful. Absolutely fantastic.
You're probably right. Yes, the Hyperion 3 sails off there. And there's the glint just on the top as well. Yeah, every time I look, I notice another shuttle. There's about 5 or 6 shuttles.
Yeah, there's quite shuttles.
Beautiful stuff from Phil Shaw. Go and follow him on X as well.
Is it just up from the shuttle bay, though? Is that the waste disposal bit?
Maybe.
You know what? It could be.
Yeah, I think it is.
I'd like to think so.
Detail. Yeah.
Because the chute, the opening that they're dumping it in, that is circular, isn't it? Because Mel nearly gets recycled again. She goes down a lot of chutes in her short time on Doctor Who. So go and check out Phil Shaw's work there over on X. Tell him that Type 40 sent you. I've talked to Phil a little. He's thinking about coming on as well, so maybe with a bit of gentle persuasion, go and badger him a little bit over there and tell him that Type 40 Live sent you. Of course, we do need more fan art up on the walls. They're big walls, and we're very, very greedy Doctor Who fans. So yes, send it our way or us its way. We don't really care how it works, as long as it works. Then we can get more amazing fan art up here on the walls, up on the view screen, for everybody to have a good look at and to publicise some brilliant Doctor Who fans. Amazing artwork, because Doctor Who fandom is the most creative of them all. Get in touch with us through our social media, Instagram and X, at Type 40 Doctor Who as well. You can do the connecting via all those means. Cut out the middleman if you like. If you don't want to wait until the next show or the one after the next show, go and hit us up on Facebook in the Type 40 Facebook group and fill the walls there with either your own fan art, just as Stephen Braddock's been doing the last week or so, or the fan artist of your choice as well. It's all allowed. Now, I'm not going to say that all of these guys are members of the Type 40 Facebook group, but they might be, or one or two of them might be. The only way you'll know for certain is if you join up for yourself. That's how that works. Head over to Facebook, Type 40 into the search field, and there you've got you'll get access, immediate access there, and you can tear yourself away from Children in Need Night on BBC One, Friday the 15th, that is, from 7 p.m, there with 5 minutes of Ncuti Gatwa action with his furry friend. Oh, God, you know what?
Move on.
You know what? I wouldn't put it past them. I wouldn't put it past Russell. Furries He's going to champion the furries next, isn't he? But this is before the watershed, between 7 and 10 for the children in need. We've gone straight from furries to children in need. So yes, from 7 till 10. Yeah, take that, Radio Free Scaro. From 7 till 10 on BBC One, Friday the 15th of November. 5 minutes of joy to the world, the Doctor Who Christmas special, premiering there. So yeah, get that on the iPlayer after the fact if you don't want to sit through Vernon Kay. Who could blame you? And let us know what you think, of course, in the comment section. And back here for the next show. Do you have children in need in Australia, Matt? In Tasmania,
no,
I should say?
God, no.
No?
Nope.
You haven't been
we
blessed?
don't. Yeah, we don't really do the whole... I know on the in certain states that they do these sort of... Like, they do 24-hour ones, actually. Like, they'll run for a couple of days. So, I don't know how they do it, but they do it. So, yeah. But no. No, I don't know much about children in need at all. Yeah.
You're not missing much.
No.
Of course, Matt, it is already Children in Need Day for you there in Tasmania. It's already Friday. How is it looking so far there? What's the inside skinny on the future from Matt Pott?
Flying cars? Not
yet.
No,
Jetpacks.
No, we just don't get flying cars here. It's just shocking. I don't know. We're only just started getting the battery operated ones.
Have they elected the first cat to be Pope yet?
A cat.
They should have done.
Yeah, who knows?
Tweety Bird, wouldn't it?
It's only a matter of time, isn't it? Yes, Children in Need Night again tomorrow. There's plenty to enjoy here on the Type 40 channel, though. I want to just plug this because people have been asking about it. We're really glad it's going down so well. The return of Teleport, our Blake 7 podcast after a long time away. This is a relaunch of our Blake 7 content. First video is up on the channel. Myself, starry-eyed girl Sarah Graham, and the fabulous Keith Isles from Home Media Minefield. We open up the channel of communications again for information about Blake 7 there, and it's released after. God, we never thought we were going to get this. I still can't quite believe it, and it's arrived. We've got it on Blu-ray at last. This is very much our sort of tease into that. There's more Blake 7 content coming as well, so please, don't forget to subscribe, and to our sister channel, the Spacebook, as well. That's where the Blake 7 content's going to live permanently. But you'll get more Blake 7 here on Type 42 for all you Blake 7 fans. More Type 40 live streams. Of course, there are. Hit up the playlists for some of our greatest hits and some of the not so great ones. They're all a laugh, whichever one your finger lands on when you're doing the scrolling. Our Doctor Who Podcast Day special there when Toby Haydock and Mark Who 42 and Ken Deep, they came on to celebrate Doctor Who Podcast Day with us. There was our summer special there, and we were live at Hooverville with Wendy Padbury, amongst others, a couple of months ago at Quad in Derby, and our regular weekly editions, of course, all there for you to discover on the playlists or rediscover if you're a glutton for punishment. Ian, absolutely fantastic to have you back again, you old tart.
Well, there's some tarts right there. They got to miss all that stuff about Shooty. I just came right at the right moment. There you go.
See, we do miss you as a regular weekly fixture on this show. Of course we do, but we can get a load of you on the Spacebook Live on our sister channel talking about movies and TV, can't we? That's every Saturday from 8 p.m.
Yep, absolutely.
Off till his heart's content about Superman and Star Wars and Star Trek and now and again things you actually like. So you can get more more of this. It's great to have you back on the show, mate.
No worries.
And John, fighting fit this week, mate. After being out of action last week, did a few rounds with us again tonight.
Yeah, I've jousted tonight with you lot. It's been great fun. Thanks for having me back on. Good stuff. And
it's been a good one, hasn't it?
As we got through Shooty okay, didn't we, really? Unescaped tonight.
Yeah, it has been a few weeks since he's said or done or worn something stupid, but we made it through together, John. We definitely did. Simon, I'm sorry. Nearly an hour of concentrated Shooty stuff, but yeah.
There we go. What can you do? It's all good fun. all Doctor Who, sort of.
We've got lots of comments in the live chat. People talking about Keir Starmer. Dear me.
Who? What?
Don't mention him on this platform. And Neil Perriman is again echoing your love of Chris Foss. There, Simon.
Go and look at Chris Foss. Google Chris Foss.
Is he still alive?
Do you know? I don't actually know, Dan. I'll try and find that. There's a little bit more homework for me. I'll find out for you for next time.
We'll have to find that out, won't we? Yeah, because it is time to give the handle a good old yank. But we will be back very, very soon, same time and space with more hot takes, pet peeves, rants and raves on Type 40 Live. So make sure you're subbed and notified here on the home of free speaking.
Oh, just get on with it, Dan.
Free speaking and bid thinking in the Doctor Who universe. Thanks again for your company, everybody. That does wrap it up for this time. We always have the time if you have the space here at Type 40 Live. We'll speak to you on the next one, including you. So yeah, go and dance with Pudsey. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Ta-da.